Hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations number 40. And it's so neat that we have an even number for the 40th episode because we're here to talk about the great two-parter called The Menagerie. And I'm here with Pop Culture Curator. Scotty will be in later.
Hello, everybody. So good to see you. I can't wait. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I'm excited for this episode too. And just so you guys know, Pop Culture Curator is on a away mission right now, but he decided to help me out through this review. Thank you for reporting in.
Oh, it's always my pleasure.
But before before I before we start the review, we do need to recognize the loss of Kirstie Alley, who played Lieutenant Saavik in The Wrath of Khan, and of course many other roles. And she will be missed. And when I was a small child, Look Who's Talking was a movie I played quite a bit, which I mentioned last night during our Star Trek animated series review. And also today I've got just the best people in my chat. Today we have Matt G, Dave G Sound, and Berto Prey 5 Kapla. I don't know if my Stream Element spot is running. Let's see. If it's not running, I better. Let's see if it is. Oh, it is. It says it is. Let's try it. And Grilla's Random Thoughts, thanks for stopping in. Also, Lemon Pie and JPRPH1 and Mr. CCDV. Nice. All right, so this is one of the greats. I agree completely. One of my favorite. Okay, so this might not be. Well, this isn't my favorite, but it is one of my favorites. Definitely really, really high up there. So this is Mr. CCDV's favorite episode. But I do love this episode so much that I haven't been nervous for a review until this one in a while. It's been a while since I felt this way about a review because it is so good. I just feel like I'm gonna mess it up, but there's no way I can do that.
Oh, you'll be totally fine. We'll keep it together.
Mm-hmm. And hello also to Dalek451. Great to see you here. And everybody subscribe to Bird of Prey 5. He has a tribute video that goes into more detail than I did about Kirstie Alley. He just posted it last night. He's very quick on the condolences to everyone who's feeling that loss.
Yeah, Kapla Bird of Prey, great video.
Mm-hmm. So we're reviewing the next episode in production order, the fabulous two-parter, The Menagerie Parts 1 and 2. And it's an absolutely incredible reuse of a pilot that the world had never seen. And it's funny and perfect and poetic that it would just so happen that we just so happen to review this episode right after seeing the animated series episode, The Eye of the Beholder, which also had telepathic aliens who captured humans and half Vulcan for their zoo. And in both cases, the aliens were not all bad. They weren't bad, evil villains, but very gentle, caring souls who really just wanted to protect their captors until they realized, of course, that humans are not meant for captivity any more than they would be. And to me, that closeness and ability to understand a creature that you don't see as evolved as you, namely humans in this case, is the sort of attitude that humans themselves try to exemplify, and other species in Starfleet, in Star Trek, from that point on. To understand.
Totally right, Jill. I completely agree.
Thank you. To understand others, especially when those others are different from you, is at the heart of Star Trek. And it started right here with the cage, which the world first saw as a menagerie. So the book has something about this. About this, the book says, oh, right. Also, I do read from this book called Star Trek 365 by Paula M. Block and Terry J. Erdman, because this show is essentially um, uh, inspired from the Clobber Times Saturday Night Star Trek show, and I just was so upset that I wasn't able to participate when they reviewed TOS that I wanted to go through the episodes as well. So that's what we're doing here today. And in those reviews, Raquel Briggs reads from this book, and it's a perfect book to accompany this series. And so, and I really love her idea of going through actual literature to talk about the episodes. So thank you to Raquel Briggs for that inspiration. And so about this episode, the book says, producing episodes of a television series week after week is a huge responsibility, particularly when it comes to staying under budget and on schedule. Filmmakers are always on the lookout for novel ways to stay ahead of the curve, and Star Trek's producers were no exception. They couldn't help thinking about the show's original pilot, which was sitting in a film vault, apparently destined for obscurity. After all, The Cage represented an episode that had already been shot and paid for. If only there was a way to use it. Think of the time and money they'd save. And so a script was devised, a frame. In literary parlances, that could be wrapped around the existing footage in an interesting way. By producing 1 hour of television, the producers could fill 2 hours of airtime. That would give them more time to develop additional episodes and recoup some of the money they'd spent on the pilot. As a bonus, since the existing footage contained plenty of action, the frame didn't need to. So it could be frugally shot almost entirely on existing sets with no location shooting and a minimum of additional actors to hire. The frame worked brilliantly, for once Star Trek found itself both a few days and a few dollars ahead. And to top it off, the Menagerie, which had been Gene Roddenberry's original title for The Cage, won the 1966 Hugo Award, science fiction's most prestigious honor, for Best Dramatic Presentation. And so, Mr. CCDV says, I know it's based on The Cage, but it's, okay. So he says it's better than The Cage. Well, I think it provides a perfect framework for The Cage. I think The Cage is lovely and beautiful, and because of that, it makes Menagerie even more powerful. So he also continues, I do like how Captain Pike ran his bridge crew. Seems like it's very close to Forbidden Planet. Back when the writers knew Navy stuff. And hello to Captain Infinity. He's here also. Here to review the Menagerie. So.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, hello. So, we're always going into the fabulous production of Star Trek, but here's a little side note on the less difficult task of producing this live stream. Normally, I play down, all the work I put into the slides, but nothing makes you feel the weight of how much work it really is than when you're clipping the show and realize that, well, wait, I've already clipped these. So I did, that did help me. So I was grateful. I was as grateful to Jill from the past as you guys are of what I do.
That's great news.
So, oh yeah, also I forgot to mention, make sure you're subscribed to Pop Culture Curator also, because we review the animated series Star Trek episodes, and he also reviews Gilligan's Island.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. And Euler Greg is here. Nice. Great.
And you're right that it was a wise decision to use The Cage. But if you think about it, that pilot was very, very expensive to produce. They had to build the model, the sets, and everything. And that pretty much paid for the entire series. All we had to do after that was just add a few sets every here and there.
Yeah, well, you were saying that some people consider it a clip show, but it's more of a framing. It's more of a framed show.
Well, it is, and it's a way that they can recoup the cost of the pilot,
Mhm.
because that way it's sold, and then advertisers are paying for it, and then it's actually, because otherwise it's just a total loss.
Yeah,
Uh, Go ahead.
and plus Gene got to show his creation that he wanted Star Trek to be birthed from.
Yes.
He wanted number one to be Major Barrett, and so she finally gets to be on screen, and that's really fun. So
Yeah, and I was mentioning, Jill and I were talking last week. I covered the Gilligan's Island season 1 episode where it was the same thing, that they used the unaired pilot interspersed within the episode to make a Christmas episode. So it was very similar, but it was a good way for the networks to recoup the costs on their pilots.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly what they did too. Oh, and Gorilla says he can come up and explain why it's okay. Yeah, see, okay. Well, let's go through the episode and see what's going on here. You're welcome to come up anytime. I sent you the link. If anybody wants the link out there, just let me know. I'll send it to you if you want to talk about this episode. But barring that, we can get through these
Yeah,
this
this is going to be a
episode.
little longer than usual, guys, because we're going to be covering 2 episodes today. So it's 2-hour coverage.
Well, actually, that's the length of my normal. Oh, okay, great. I'm so happy to welcome Scotty R37.
Hi.
Great timing.
Sorry
So
I'm
glad.
late.
No,
Hey,
you're
Scotty,
just
good
on
to see you.
time.
Good. Hey, Pop.
Now, you're perfect, Scotty. We have not started yet. We were just basically doing the
Yeah.
intro still.
Yeah, I finished the intro. So before we continue, also remember to subscribe to Fantasmagorium, where Scotty plays with his friends. And tomorrow he'll be reviewing Sin City parts 1 and 2, right?
That's right. That's right. And also, don't forget, my co-host on Thursday is a little bit of a flake, so there's not going to be a Quantum Leap show.
Oh, man. What a disappointment. I wonder why she can't be there.
I'm sure she has a good reason.
I do. Yeah, I do. I have a very good reason. It's my mama's birthday.
That's the best reason of all.
So.
And hello to everybody in the chat. Hello, Pop. Hey, Jill. Thank you for letting me play.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's go to Talos 4.
Sure. So this episode first aired on November 17th, 1966. It was written by Gene Roddenberry. Of course, Gene often rewrote many scripts that don't have his writing credit, and of course, being the creator, his name is on every episode. However, officially so far, he has his name as an author on Charlie X and Mud's Women. This episode was directed by Mark Daniels, and so far he has directed The Man Trap, The Naked Time, and Court Martial. So he directed the episode previous to this one. I think they tried to get the original director of The Cage, and he was like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, you'll notice, too, at the end of the part 1, the director is listed as the director of the current episode, The Menagerie, and at the end of part 2, they list the director of The Cage.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that they do remember to include everybody from both episodes.
Right. Also in part 2, they'll list the cast of the original crew.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yes, they put in Jeffrey Hunter and Susan Oliver,
yeah.
And so there's this matte painting here, and in the book they have this picture here, which shows you what was the real set and what was the matte painting. And here it says, the magical visual effects allow a set designer to build a minimal amount of background, which later will give the impression of a maximal degree of scope. After actors actress Julie Parrish and 2 extras were photographed in front of the simple block facade. The effects department superimposed the image onto a matte painting depicting Starbase 11. Without the beautiful matte, the outer space beyond the facade would have been the empty space of the soundstage.
Nice.
Yeah. And Captain says, afternoon to you, Scotty.
Ahoy, Captain.
And Euler Greg says, Cage gave a great sense of history of the great starship Enterprise and early Spock. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So Piper greets Captain Kirk, but doesn't know, but says that the Commodore can't understand why he's here, since there was no message to divert him here.
Malachi!
Malachi, yeah, Malachi. So Kirk insists Spock received a message, but Mendez says it's impossible. And of course, we know the reason why that's impossible, because of Captain Pike's medical condition. And given the injured state Captain Pike is currently in, I love the description, the introduction that's given to him as he was in the cage. Big, handsome, and vital. He was the starship captain of the Enterprise right before Captain Kirk. Captain Pike saved cadets from a dangerous situation where their vessel's baffle plate ruptured, releasing delta ray radiation. And so we get the reveal of Captain Pike now in his current state, which has left him severely scarred and confined in this wheelchair.
Which, of course, is not Jeffrey Hunter.
Correct. This is not Jeffrey Hunter. And about that, specifically, it says here, Desilu and NBC executives had discussed the possibility of airing The Cage as a movie of the week if Star Trek did not go forward as a series. When the pilot was nixed, Desilu approached actor Jeffrey Hunter with a request to rejoin the cast in order to shoot enough additional footage to make the movie option viable. But Hunter, who wanted to return to the feature films, declined. This meant that Roddenberry had to devise a way to make Christopher Pike look very different in the frame story that would ultimately envelop the first pilot. Thus, it was decreed that Pike, following an act of heroism befitting his character, had been burned beyond recognition. This gave newcomer Sean Kenny, the man behind the disfiguring makeup, some very subdued screen time in the Menagerie. Happily, it was not Kenny's only role in the series. He also appeared as Lieutenant DePaul, alternatively a navigator and a helm officer in the episodes Arena and A Taste of Armageddon. Appearing with Sean Kenny in this still... Oh, okay. I don't have the still that they're talking about, but is Malachi Thorne. In addition to co-starring in dozens of movies and television shows, Thorne has an ongoing career as a voiceover artist, lending his vocal tones to commercials ranging from Revlon to Goodyear, which is why he was originally heard but not seen in The Cage. Thorne's voice replaced the female voice of the actress playing the Telosian's keeper, thus enhancing the character's alien quality. When he was later cast as Commodore Mendez in the Menagerie, the sound department electronically modified the original voiceover, recurring to make sure that the keeper's voice was different from that of Mendez. And, okay, so we lost Pop Culture Curator, but he's still here. Here he is.
Welcome back.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, Pike communicates through flashes of light. 2 flashes mean no, 1 means yes. And he won't speak to Kirk, but he will speak to Spock. And we find out that Spock is about to commit treachery and mutiny.
Not mutiny.
No, that's what I'm saying. When I watched this episode for the first time, I was aghast after everything I'd seen so far of Spock. What is going on? I hadn't seen the cage yet, and so I had no clue. I don't know why I didn't see the cage first, or maybe I did see the cage first, and I just wasn't sure what was going on yet at this point. Oh, look, there's two pop culture curators. Which one did I see first? Because obviously I watched this way after everything was completed and the cage was out. But I don't think I watched the cage yet.
I definitely didn't watch the cage until way after I saw this.
Yeah.
But, and I think it was Euler Greg who just who said that seeing these flashbacks to 13 years ago does add a lot more world building and history to the Enterprise, which is fantastic.
Yes. I agree completely, especially the Spock's character, because this is all about Spock and Captain Pike.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness.
Beep. Le Menagerie. Numéro 1.
Oh, and LDG is here. Hello to LDG.
Hey, LDG. Lots of beeps. Lots of yeses and nos.
Beep, 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 beep. Right. He keeps saying no because he's trying to alert everybody of Spock's deception, but just saying no over and over doesn't really say much. And plus, Kirk has always trusted Spock without fail because Spock has never lived up. Spock has never failed to live up to that trust.
Mm-hmm.
So if his first officer says he's received a message from Captain Pike, that is what he believes. Even after hearing the contrary evidence, he even brings echoes of court-martial when he says, "I suggest the record tapes have been deliberately changed. A computer expert can change the record tapes, duplicate voices, say anything, say nothing." And yeah. Chief Humboldt has searched for the messages in every possible way, so now he must check the impossible. And I'm pretty glad he knows what that means, because he gets to it right away, but before he can figure anything out, the Spock creeps up. He's really great at creeping around. And neck pinches him.
Stealth factor 9.
And unlike when he pinches, an antagonist, he very gently lays him down.
He's not mean.
No,
he's just
not
determined.
Yeah, and then he does something to the inside of this computer. He's changing the voices.
Cross-circuiting something or other.
Yeah. And Miss Piper is making Captain Kirk nervous that Lieutenant Helen Johnson has described him. But she assures him that it was just enough of a description to recognize him.
Well, and she only has one job, and she's not very good at it.
What's that? What's her one job?
Remember, she's supposed to be keeping an eye on Captain Pike?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That comes up in a bit, but it's just like, look at the screen, lady. All right. Did you look at the screen the whole time? No. You had one job.
Piper reports that Spock is very loyal to Captain Pike, but Kirk reminds her that Vulcans cannot be disloyal to either former or current commanders. So, yeah, that's his explanation.
Well, and it's an expression of his implicit trust, his unwavering trust.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got to go back to Captain Pike's chair because I talk about it here. I like the technology of it that is controlled by his brainwaves. That's an incredible idea for patients who otherwise are conscious and have active minds but just can't move, for paralyzed victims. And the chair allows him movement and the ability to say yes or no. But I wonder why they didn't go the extra mile and just give him Morse code.
Oh, that's a good call. Maybe the machinery is not as sophisticated to be able to translate those brainwaves.
You know what? You're right, because
The one thing
that
we
makes
haven't
sense.
been able to tap into,
Oh,
the
the
brain.
brain, yes. I was going to say that, but I do bring it up later. But yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right. No, that's true. That explains it for me. Thank you.
Cheers.
His body is so far gone that even his heart has to be driven by a battery. Which is an incredible notion that they came up with this, considering the pacemaker was invented only 6 years before this episode.
Oh, cool.
And so Bird of Prey 5 says we get our first hint. Spock doesn't age the same as humans. Yes, because it was 13 years ago, and of course Spock only appears to have aged a year or so. Then that's true. That's a great point. I didn't even consider that.
Kapla, Bird of Prey.
Well, that just ended up working out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Euler Greg says the cage wasn't available in the 70s when I originally saw the series. Yeah, the cage was released late 80s.
Yes, I think it was like 87 or 88.
Come on. And everybody's communicating with beeps today. And Mr. CDB didn't see the cage until the 90s and was wondering where all the 3.5 discs were. I was using them in my computer.
Mm-hmm. I love the data tapes on the original series.
Yeah, me too.
The little wooden blocks.
The only character is Spock. The rest are just, well, wait. The illusion doesn't start until they get to the Enterprise, right?
No.
I don't know exactly where the illusion starts. Tell me.
Well, and I don't know. That's the difficult thing, because Commodore Mendez is on the shuttle when they're headed towards the Enterprise, but then vanishes in part 2 because he's an illusion. So I don't know where the illusion starts. Like, it has to be when Kirk and Mendez get on the shuttle.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that's a good guess.
But
And I'm not sure. But this goes out to Pop Culture Curator. Please be safe. You're driving. You don't have to worry about being on the live stream. Please be safe. And we're thank
we're
you.
all rooting for you, Pop Culture.
Yeah.
I actually really like the relationship between Kirk and Mendez in this episode.
Yeah.
It's professional but courteous. They obviously have some sort of history.
Which is why I would love to know when it really is Mendez and when it is stops being Mendez.
Yes. And this is when they receive the counterfeit communication with Captain James T.
Yeah, right. And Kirk throughout this episode goes from not believing that Spock could ever do this to finally, for the first time, being skeptical of him. Yep. Oh, okay. Well, we do know that. We do know what is real and what isn't. We just don't know when it starts exactly. It's just a matter of the exact moment the illusion begins.
What are you doing, sir? You're cross-circuiting them. I know.
Yeah.
I'm doing. Do you have clearance? I have clearance. Something along those lines. It's badly paraphrased, but you get the
No, that's perfect. Badly paraphrase the whole episode, please.
I will.
Thank you. So Spock is faking being the Starbase operating voices and Captain Kirk's to fool the Enterprise. He sends in new orders and it requires confirmation. And just like Kirk said earlier, voices can be duplicated, and that's exactly what Spock does here.
Mm-hmm.
Fake Kirk says, "This is Captain Kirk. You have confirmation, Mr. Uhura." And of course, this is decades before today, in which technology of this nature is very quickly becoming a reality. Maybe it can't access the soul or spirit of the person they're mimicking, but it can sound enough like them to fool someone, just as Spock is doing here.
So
Spock
is
tell,
this the first deep fake?
yeah,
Cool.
this is science fiction. This is science fiction as at its finest, and predicting the future very accurately in this case. Spock tells Hansen that the computer will lay in the course automatically, and spoilers for this episode because we need to talk about it as a whole. Anytime you want to bring in something else, you can, if it feels good. Because, of course, we know that it's the Telosians who are somehow controlling the ship. Well, because Spock sends in, it's probably all in the data tapes somehow. Because that's Spock's excuse, that the computer is controlling the ship. But the Telosians are also somehow creating illusions on the Enterprise. It's surprising that one of them isn't actually on the ship themselves.
Well, and is this? Oh, is this where he recalls Dr. McCoy as well?
Oh yes, that's right. He does. They recall Dr. McCoy. Yes, you see, that's what I was telling you. I need your help today because I didn't grab everything. And that's where Spock is saying the computer is going to control the ship.
Yes. He just sits there saying no.
No.
No to what?
Beep 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 beep
beep beep beep beep beep beep. And he just sits there saying no.
Yeah.
No to what?
Well, Kirk wonders how long he'll live, and McCoy explains the nature of neurology, which is true today as it is here. He says, as long as any of us blast medicine anyway, we've learned to tie into every human organ in the body except one, the brain. The brain is what life is all about. Now that man can think any thought, we can, and love, hope, dream as much as we can, but he can't reach out, and no one can reach in. And then we have a very lovely scene that's been building up over the course of the episodes we've seen so far concerning Spock and McCoy's friendship and rivalry. Could Spock be lying? Bones says no. Vulcans are incapable of it. But Kirk reasons that Spock is half human. But McCoy argues that his human side is completely submerged, and that being caught acting or thinking like a human would be embarrassing to him. McCoy sticks by Spock in this episode, and I think that's really great of him. But of course, from this point, Kirk is too shocked and would probably like to back him up too, but he has to protect his ship, even if it's against Spock.
Yeah. Which is, and I think it feeds into it later when McCoy does get back to the Enterprise, the shock that DeForest Kelley portrays on it. And it's just like, because he is steadfast in his belief that Spock could not. He couldn't. And then when he does, he's like, oh, I don't know what to do now. That's crazy.
Exactly. I think that's how I felt too. Oh, well, Greg says, I'm not completely convinced. The rest of you aren't illusions right now. But as far...
I have no defense for my illusionary nature.
Well, we could all just be a figment of Euler Greg's imagination.
We're all in Benny Russell's head.
And James Caserta?
Jill is the dreamiest.
Yeah, that's what James Caserta says. Thank you. I couldn't say it myself.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? If not, this isn't a dream, says Finity.
Bird of Prey says perhaps all of Trek is the illusion. The illusion never ended. Not until STD. CCTV says, I have early onset dementia. I'm pretty sure this is all happening in my head.
Parlez-vous français?
To be honest, I'm actually into dream stories even more than time travel, says Captain Finity. And that's why I have several tests to check if this is a dream. Although today, I'm actually not sure yet. Oh, you haven't definitively concluded whether or not you're in a dream state. Interesting.
I played around with lucid dreaming once, and apparently there's a thing that you're supposed to, in your dream, is you're supposed to push your index finger into your palm, and if it goes through, you're dreaming.
Oh, neat. I didn't know about that. I'll try that next time I'm dreaming and remember it. Captain Finity said I did have insomnia all night, so now it's morning. Maybe I just started sleeping and I'm dreaming. You're dreaming of my Star Trek reviews?
Your subconscious is strange to me, but I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Share with your other dream friends.
Yeah, right. Craig says that someone's interfering with his command in his ship and he'll find out who it is.
And this is where Dr. McCoy gets recalled.
Yes.
And here's your top secret file, Talos 4. I always love the little flippy thing that happens here with the opener.
The little flippy thing?
The little flippy thing.
Yeah, we flipped the flippy thing. And yeah, well, I think it was a little lock. There's a little lock on it. It was locked because it's confidential. It's top secret. It's General Order 7, which prohibits any vessel from visiting the planet under any circumstances. And doing so is the only death penalty still on the books. Only the Enterprise had visited it before. And it even says here, known facts, detailed information cross-referenced with the 3XY Farragut level mass computer. The only Earthship that ever visited Talos 4 was USS Enterprise, commanded by Captain Christopher Pike, with half Vulcan science officer Spock. Recommendations be it hereby noted that said the following instructions be incorporated into Starfleet policy. No one will ever visit Talos 4. The following officers have visited Talos 4 and recommend that no human should ever visit it again. So then they're interrupted by a call from Piper. It tells them that Captain Pike is gone.
Because that chick just wouldn't look at the screen for long enough.
No, I don't know. What was she doing?
Well, when they were relaying the story of Talos 4, she looks away to she addresses, not verbally, but she's paying attention to the Commodore and the Captain instead of what she was tasked to do.
Yeah. Well, even if she were paying attention, all she would have witnessed was Captain Pike being teleported to the Enterprise.
I guess it would have been a transporter sitch, yeah. I was thinking Spock had to come in
and wheel him around. And so now Captain Pike's gone. The Enterprise is warping out of orbit and won't acknowledge their signal. And welcome back to Pop Culture Curator.
He hath returned.
Yeah, welcome back. But if you're having difficulty joining us today, please don't sweat it. We're doing okay. And Admiral Teak says, I was dreaming when I wrote this, so please forgive me if it goes astray.
Prince reference?
Oh, that's what's happening here? When I met Nikki in the hotel lobby, she was... Oh, wait, that was a different track. Oh, okay, so they're both doing that.
Yes.
Great. Talos would be a great pleasure planet, says Euler Greg. And Spock is taken... Yeah, right, so... Spock is taking temporary command of the Enterprise and informing the crew that Captain Kirk's been placed on medical rest leave, and McCoy's confused, and Spock asks for McCoy to come with him.
And there he is in Spock's quarters.
Yeah. Spock explains that Captain Kirk has a message recording for Dr. McCoy relayed through Captain Pike. And in this message, Kirk orders McCoy not to disturb Captain Pike with any questions. So don't ask any questions. Do everything Spock says.
Yes. Well, it's not like Captain Pike would be able to say anything.
Right.
Except for yes or no.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, hello. Let's see. Oh yeah, and the Hansen is telling Spock that the scanners detected an object that's following the Enterprise. Of course, the object being the shuttlecraft that has Mendez.
Commodore Mendez, yes. But Malachi is fun to say.
You taught me his name. I can't forget it now.
Fair enough.
And Hansen suggests reversing the helm to avoid contact, but Spock orders Hansen to do nothing.
Take no action, Mr. Hansen.
Do nothing. The computer's doing everything. Why do you think you got to do anything? And hello to Gap After Dark.
Hey, Gap.
It says, blink once if you were in the chat. Blink twice if you hit the like button. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And all the disabled people in the Federation would go from beeping to living normal lives. Wait, what? Oh, right. Yes. Yes, there should be an exception to Talos 4 for disabled people. But it's a very specific case with Captain Pike.
Yes.
And so Mendez and Kirk are trying to contact the Enterprise. And they find out that Spock is going to Talos 4 very quickly. And Mendez reveals their fuel is too low. They can't even get back if they wanted to. They just don't have enough fuel. And Kirk can't call the Enterprise. They seem to be lost to sea, but it's space. And Spock is using the library computer to measure an object that is following the Enterprise. The object being the shuttlecraft. And it's a class F with a duranium metal shell and ion engine power. When Spock asks how long, it can continue. So he also knows the fuel situation.
Which puts him in a bit of a pickle.
Yep.
But he doesn't leave.
Right. So he pretty much has to accept them on board. He can't just leave them adrift.
And I like the slightly different redress of the shuttle. It's not one big bay as it was in the Galileo. And this one's sort of sectioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. This is updated.
Well, just a different model of shuttlecraft, I would assume.
And Kirk is actually hoping that Spock doesn't come back come for them because Spock, he doesn't want to see his friend court-martialed and disgraced when they return to the ship. And Mendez points out that Spock will be dead if he makes it to Talos 4.
Mm-hmm.
And wonders why he would take Captain Pike there. So, probably at this point, Mendez is, I'm going to say this, I'm going to agree with you. This is probably where he's an illusion.
Well, and that's it. It just makes sense. It's just we don't see them get on together.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Kirk speculates Spock must have a logical reason, but Mendez just thinks Spock is crazy.
He's gone mad. And Dr. McCoy. Oh, and Yamas Queen Jets in the chat says Vulcans, even half Vulcans, can be stubborn if logic or loyalty to a former commander is in jeopardy. Sorry for tripping all over that, Jess.
Yeah, I agree. And that is what Spock is doing here. He's solving the puzzle of trying to make sure that no one else gets in trouble for this but him. Like if there's going trouble to be had, he's going to take the sacrifice. And Admiral Teak says, I think that's a shuttle interior from Doomsday Machine.
Could be.
Yeah, we haven't reviewed that yet. Can't wait. And Gap After Dark associates me with Court Martial. And Euler Greg says, good point. Beeping in agreement.
Beep. Excuse me,
So,
I'm just going to put on a sweater.
Okay. McCoy and Spock are discussing who might be following them, and Spock orders the computer to lock onto the shuttle. Because, of course, he knows who it is. And McCoy asks if the captain's in the shuttle. So Spock is just keeping things from McCoy and orders the security team to the bridge and for the transporter team to stand by for the captain. Then he presents himself to McCoy for arrest. That's why he asked for the security team to come to the bridge to confine him to his quarters.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Herc.
Hello to Herc 130. And,
is this where Spock summons security?
Yeah, Spock calls the security on himself, and everybody's watching him be arrested. He orders himself arrested, and McCoy sends Spock to his quarters to be confined. And Mendez and Kirk are beamed aboard the ship.
Mr. Spock is in his quarters. In his quarters? After what he's done?
Yeah, and Kirk immediately, of course, on his ship, he needs control, so he tries to disengage the computer control, but cannot do it. The computer informs him he can't. Nope. Kirk's on the monitor. This is the captain. On voice command, you will override all contrary instructions. Voice command, disengage from the helm. Computer says, unable to comply. Any such attempt will cross circuit vessel's life supporting system. Computer control cannot be disengaged until vessel reaches planet Talos 4. And so then we get a captain's log, stardate 3012.4. Despite our best efforts to disengage computers, the Enterprise is still locked on a heading for the mysterious planet Talos 4. Meanwhile, as required by Starfleet General Orders, a preliminary hearing on Lieutenant Commander Spock is being convened. In all the years of my service, this is the most painful moment I've ever faced. And get ready for for us to discuss the episode as a whole, because that is what we get when we invite Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Hello, Gorilla.
Well, that's because you streamed during my lunch hour.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, Gorilla.
I understand. I was just providing a warning.
Yeah, but this is an actual legitimate F I got issues with. First of all, we're just watching an episode of Star Trek, or we're watching an episode of Star Trek inside an episode.
Yeah, it's an episode inside an episode. Exactly. That's precisely what it is. That's what it means to be a frame. Mm-hmm.
And also,
right. That's not live, but no one's ever seen it before.
Exactly. Like the first time
I know, but it hadn't been released yet.
Well, that's the studio's own damn fault. If you put money into it, you might as well release it.
Well, no, it wasn't the pilot that they wanted to convey. They needed a different captain, so they didn't release it until later.
Yeah.
And this was a way to reuse the pilot in a very creative method.
Yeah. repurposing it and allowing it. Like the first time I saw this, I thought that they had, like, I had no idea it was based on the original pilot. I thought that they had actually gone and filmed other stuff and just gave Spock a crappy haircut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like what happened to his eyebrows?
Yeah. But I just thought I thought this was all just production, and I thought it was really, really cool. It's not Shades of Grey. That's an F.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also my other complaint with this is I cannot believe Pike would want to have something in his will saying if he ends up like a vegetable. Not that they're like, I have it set up there that if I end up like a vegetable in that, just take me out behind the barn like Old Yeller.
What do you think? You think he lives in Canada?
Yeah, we don't ever hear from him what his thoughts on that are. That's very true.
Yeah. Yeah, and we got to establish that there is telepaths in the Federation. I know the Betazoids have joined by now. You got
no, wait a minute. We don't know anything about Betazoids. This is the original series. The Betazoids have not been conceived yet.
Well, we also know the Vulcans are telepathic there with their mind melds. You know, I'm pretty sure there's other species that are telepathic too. Why didn't the Vulcan do a mind meld with Captain Pike to get and have him speak through the Vulcan?
Yeah, I never thought of that. You could mind meld with Pike.
Well, I think the reason why is because Spock's on trial. So would you believe somebody on trial saying, I'm mind melding with so they're gonna have to go get another Vulcan. They gotta hire a new actor to be a Vulcan to mind meld with Pike.
Well, I'm nitpicking here.
Well,
it could just be I'm having a bad day, but that's a different song.
Mm-hmm.
But
the only reason that Spock feels comfortable with that is because it is like Spock does say that the mind meld is something that isn't typically presented to outsiders.
And actually, the mind meld had just shown up in the Dagger of the Mind, just aired just recently, before a couple of weeks before this episode. So it's just such a new thing. Maybe the writers haven't really incorporated it as much into.
Well, but and I kind of agree with you, Jill, in terms of like Spock already knows what he wants to do. He doesn't have to mind meld with Pike as well, just because he's taking Pike to Talos, whether Pike wants to go or not, because it is the logical thing to do, I assume.
Yes. Yeah. And all he's trying to do is show everybody, he and the magistrate, the keeper, all the Talosians and Spock are trying to do is show everybody what's going on, why this is happening, and in the guise of showing us the cage.
Then also, another thing with this episode, this whole episode could have been solved if the Talosians just reached out to the Starbase, go, hey, we heard about Captain Pike. We know him personally. We can take care of him. Boom, and they could have set the starship to take Captain Pike over there to take care of him.
You know what? I'll give you that one, because if their telepathy, if they don't need to be on the ship in order to create the illusions, then they could also telepathy with Starbase 11 and do that.
Or even just send a subspace message.
But it's possible that if they tried that, the Starbase would have said, no, that's on our books. We say nobody can go to Talos 4. What are you talking about? That's the only, we don't have many rules where you can die, but going to Talos 4, this is one of them, so go away.
So that just leads to my next point there. It's established this is the only death penalty left on the books, but yet they let Spock go. You know, I was expecting the first time I watched this, I was expecting the whole episode. Oh, Spock's breaking the law. All right, they're going to space him and bring in a new science officer. You know, but they don't execute it, so now it sets precedents, and some family can go, hey, they're not enforcing this law. All right, kids, get on the shuttle. We're heading off to Talos 4.
And that's something I've been struggling with too, but he does it for such a noble purpose. And such a important for someone who was directly related to the initial incident that caused the whole rule to be implemented, that I think that's where the exception was given.
Yeah, but it still sets precedence.
Well,
in court.
I don't know how much of this would be like widely discussed. Like, I just don't know how many people would be like, "Oh yeah, first officer of the Enterprise stole the Enterprise, went to Talos. You hear about that?" No.
You got an entire crew on the ship, plus how many people on a star base that know about it. They're not going to keep that quiet. It only takes one.
Or it'll become legendary based on the reverence that they have for Captain Pike.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm satisfied with the progression. The only question I really had was Mendez and when he becomes an illusion. But aside from that, no, it all seems to make sense, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry, Gorilla.
So you'll give
thank you so much.
Stuff like that a pass, but you'll give Strange New Worlds a pass.
Well, but
thank you for relaying all of your opinions on this episode.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not.
They're really good. They're really good. You always bring your A game to this discussion.
Yeah. Oh, Jill, did you even see my first message?
Yeah, something about your daughter.
Yeah, the last time someone was this late, my daughter was born 9 months later. Because you originally told me 11.
Yeah. Oh no, but I sent you 3 messages saying that I changed it to noon.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But I still had to make a comment.
Okay. I just thought that would help.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
It changed what I was going to listen to. While I was waiting for you to start.
Nice. I'm glad I could.
I got I get my videos all timed out around certain live streams and all that. So. All right, I gotta go get some lunch.
Okay, enjoy your lunch. Thank you for sharing.
Yep. Cheers.
You roll. See you later. No, I do have a bit of an issue with that too. Like, why does Spock get away with that?
I like, again, with the Telosians broadcasting the cage back to Starbase 11. It's a situation of the reasons were justified. I think that.
Yeah, that's all they say.
That's all they say.
They're just like, we're cool with it.
Even Mendez.
It's Captain Pike. We love that guy.
And it does. It says expressly at the end of it, and it's based on Captain Pike's contribution to space exploration, and considering the evidence that was presented by the Telosians, the death penalty has been suspended.
And so, actually, at this point, since I had to skip around, I need to find where I am. Where I need to find out where Mendez and Kirk beam aboard.
Being bored?
Beam aboard.
Beam aboard. I thought they were being bored. They're just hanging out. I'm bored.
Yeah, we're bored with this court martial already.
Yeah. You guys want to do anything else? Let's go beam down somewhere.
Yep.
Man, it's been one heck of a month for Kirk and crew. They just got court martials coming out of their ears.
Right, double court martial. In fact, Spock requests the court martial.
He demands it.
But Kirk says there aren't enough command officers to form the trial board, but Spock argues there are 3 if you include Captain Christopher Pike. But Kirk, mentions that Pike is invalid, but Mendez says, hey, wait a minute. Pike is still on active duty and his mind is still all right. They didn't retire him.
We didn't have the heart.
And so Captain's Log 3012.6, General Court Martial convened. Mr. Spock has again waived counsel and has entered a plea of guilty.
still en route to tell us what?
Yeah, Admiral Teague says best reason I can come up with about why Federation lets the visit to Talos slide is because Talosians had changed. They were cooler and now benevolent. I think that they were actually never malicious to begin with. They were not respectful. They were so like after the events of the cage, they became more respectful of humanity.
Well, and they do become aware that we had no such idea that your species was so against captivity.
Exactly. They That's
they
exactly
did it in error.
Mm-hmm. They just wanted to propagate a species to help them rebuild their planet. But they didn't realize humans were not the ones for that. And Pop Culture Curator says he's sorry, he's driving through bad weather. Please be safe. And yeah. Just kill him.
Just kill him. Which one? Oh, maybe Pike.
Well, that's what Gorilla was saying.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about trying to get on the panel if you can't. Please concentrate on the road, and we'll see you when we see you.
Yeah, be safe, dude.
Yeah. Menagerie says, start a reverse mortgage on your house and screw over your relatives. Send the money to Jill. Wait a minute, reverse mortgage? That doesn't sound like a good idea. But
it's a perfect idea.
I do appreciate when people find value in my streams, but also just listening and being in the chat is finding value in it also.
Hello, 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 beep, 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 beep.
Yes, everybody beeps today.
That was 3 yeses, not 2 no's, or 1 no and a yes.
Okay, that can get confusing really quickly.
It can.
So they're discussing a potential death penalty for Mr. Spock if they make it to Talos 4. And Mr. Spock pleads guilty, but he requests before to show evidence on the monitor screen. Evidence from 13 years ago showing the Enterprise patrolling and detecting something coming at them. Captain Kirk and Commodore Mendez are like, hey, where did this come from? Why is this admissible as evidence? And why is it such a perfect relay of exactly what happened? Kirk says, screen off. Chris, was that really you on screen? That's impossible. Mr. Spock, no vessel makes record tapes in that detail. That perfect. What were we watching? And of course, production-wise, we're watching The Cage. But I love that they address in the universe that it is the Talosians projecting the history.
And yes, this is the part where we get to what Gorilla was saying, where we watch an episode of Star Trek, Yeah,
there's an episode of Star Trek inside our episode of Star Trek.
It's Star Trekception.
Yeah, so they had a radio wave distress signal, and it indicated that Columbia had to make a forced landing on Talos 4, and they'd been missing for 18 years, and they didn't know anybody survived, so Pike wants to get to Vegas Colony to help some of the crew go to the hospital. And Dr. Boyce visits Captain Kirk with ice martinis. And Pike is upset about the Rigel 7 mission where 3 crew members were lost and 7 were injured. He blames himself.
And this is sort of the angst of Christopher Pike that was present during The Cage that was deemed somewhat too cerebral.
Yeah, and he was thinking about resigning because of it. But Boyce steers him away. I don't know how much was cut or not. because I'm just kind of going through my actual original Cage review.
Oh, really? Is that where you got the slides for this? You lazy.
Well, no, I wasn't lazy. I was running out of time.
Fair enough.
I've never reviewed 2 Star Trek episodes at once, so I kind of had to do this.
Fair enough.
Now you're beginning to talk like a doctor, bartender.
Well, we both get the same kind of customers, the living and the dying.
And Spock calls in to say there's confirmed survivors, even as reported by Garrison. So they head to the planet, as Pike indicated. If they did have survivors. So they're discussing the court case. And Spock's life is in danger. Even though he... Okay, so
what's up?
I don't know. All right. I have no idea.
Are you getting lost in the menagerie?
I am so lost in the menagerie.
So anyway.
So Uhura informs Commodore Mendez that the Enterprise is receiving transmissions from the planet in violation of Starfleet's orders, and Mendez orders Spock to assume command of the Enterprise to disable the vessel to prevent further contact.
And doesn't he say he can't because you've already asked me to present the evidence? Here it is. This is how we're going to get
That's right. We're in the middle of this, and we're going to tell us for whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's the end of this episode, right?
No, we keep is that the end of the episode?
I don't know.
Don't stop me. Don't let him stop me.
Is there more? Let me see.
Well, and that's the confusing part about this is that we are just basically recapping the Cage. Hey, look, Jill, you're popular.
I'm so confused. Yes. No, I have 2 reviews here.
Thanks, Matt G.
So he picks number 1 on the bridge because he needs someone who's experienced to stay on the Enterprise. And it's great that she's here. Let's see.
Need the most experienced officer on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks like she's just been uninvited to prom.
Yes.
Okay. I'll stay here.
So on the planet's surface, we see Spock marvel and find joy in the indigenous plant life. And this was just the evolution of the Spock character, because he felt like he had to have some kind of emotion because Pike was playing it so straight. And there's a settlement with 11 survivors, or so it seemed. And there was one young woman who survived. How does that happen?
And everybody goes all radio gaga.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Observed by the keepers. He'll do nicely for our collection.
Yeah, and Venus says that she calls him a healthy and intelligent
specimen.
Yeah. Right there. There it is.
Here it is.
I knew what I was doing. Pike approves the request to explore and follows up Vina up the slope. Oh, that's something they clipped. They clipped it from the Menagerie that number 1 can explore. No, we don't need to know about that. And so the door opens. Pike is knocked out and taken inside. The crew tries to break through the door with phasers, but they fail to do so. And I think that's where
the episode ends.
That's where we go back to That's where we go back to the actual episode here. And that's where there's a transmission. Or something.
Or something.
Do you remember what happens here?
Yeah, they yell about how Spock's not supposed to go to Talos, and they
Hey, don't go to
oh no,
Talos.
they stop the thing because the Telosians can tell that that Pike is fatigued, and so they take a recess, and then while they're doing the recess, that's when Mendez is like, I don't even know what's going on here, and then Spock says to Jim, don't try and stop me, don't let him stop me. Because this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. It's for Captain Pike's best interests. And that's where we get the dramatic lock him up.
Oh, okay. You're right. Not only that, but Pike gets to decide himself to continue the trial.
Yes.
And he does. Okay. Thank you. Be concluded next week. But not really. Right now.
Right now. Let's do it now.
Yeah, why not? Right now. And so we do get Jeffrey Hunter, Susan Oliver,
Malachi
Thorne,
John Hoyt,
and Peter Duria, M. Lee Hudek, John Hoyt, Adam Rourke, and
D. Jimmy and Michelle,
Sean Kenny, Hagen Beggs, and Julie Parrish
as the Beaver.
As Miss Piper. And then we start part 2. Part 2 of this series aired on November 24th. But before we talk about that, hold on. I think I got some chats here.
We do have a couple of chats.
We do have some chats. So, James Caserta says, send all your money to Jill. Care of me. Admiral Teague says, hanging out with Pike apparently changes Talos. This works because they had been shown to have a hive mind. And Pop Culture Curator says, notice how nobody asks Pike's opinion of what's going on. They're wondering why Spock is doing this, yet they don't ask Pike. Well, they do ask if Pike wants to continue the investigation, but you're right, they don't communicate as much with him. And thank you to Matt G for tipping $2. Always appreciate it.
Oh my!
And when all the work I put into this is seen. And also, Matt G also says, remember to subscribe to the Harvey Zone. And that's, of course, Doomcock's friend and Eldritch God, Harvey Cthulhu, who Doomcock makes sure to keep safe in a containment field so that Harvey does not break through and destroy the universe. So also always remember to go to, on Fridays, this Friday, should be another Friday Night Frolics. And this should be fun. And I'll have a birthday stream on earlier that day on Friday too.
Yay!
I don't know what I'm doing yet, but it'll be a birthday party.
We're all going to get drunk and play ping pong.
Ping pong. Oh, haha. Okay. Well, I'll find a better website for that. Admiral Teague, the cage says the cage was rightly rejected by the network. The idea wasn't ready. Spock had emotion, and we had the wrong crew and props. I agree. Oiler Greg says Doctor was the star of my favorite Martian TV series.
Incorrect. Can you go back?
Okay. I think they're talking about Boyce.
Yes, they're talking about Boyce, but I think Oiler Greg, I think you have him confused with Ray Walston, who played Boothby on The Next Generation and Voyager, but he was my favorite Martian with Bill Bixby, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
you can correct me if I'm wrong, Oiler Greg.
Well, you're usually pretty spot on with actors, but yeah.
Well, and
Oiler Greg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please, Oiler Greg. If I am incorrect, swap me with a rolled up newspaper.
On the nose.
On the nose.
Pop Culture Curator says that older actor is John Hoyt. He also starred in another George Powell movie, When Worlds Collide. Gotta check it out. And yes, you're right. I did have some sex bots here. I didn't even notice because I was trying to not get discombobulated switching between episodes.
Well, Matt G took care of them, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. And Nimoy hadn't found his Spock's niche during the cage, says Yamas Queen Jess. Exactly.
Yes.
Delusion sex bots. The illusion is here. Anyway. I wanted somebody to do that. Thank you.
No
Dalek451 says, I've gotten those bots in a few of my live streams. I like to use the subscriber only mode to keep them out.
Makes sense.
That's true. But I also want people who are not subscribed to come into my live stream if they want. And so I will risk
sex bots?
I will risk the sex bots just in case somebody finds my live stream not subscribed yet.
Plus, it's fun to play whack-a-mole in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. Oiler Greg says, my favorite Pavik line is humor, a difficult concept.
Yes. Still reeling from the passing of Kirstie Alley. Malachi Throne, LOL. Yes.
Thorn. I meant to say Thorn. I don't know why I'm saying Throne. I didn't mean to.
I thought his name was Throne.
Is it Throne or Thorn?
I don't know.
Confused now. Yeah, Dalek. It's going to be my birthday. So Friday is going to be my birthday -1 because my birthday is actually on Saturday. So on Friday we're gonna celebrate my birthday -1, and it's gonna be great.
Birthday Eve.
I am not 12 years old. I'm much older than that. Much older.
Not much older. Calm down.
Yeah.
You're not Yoda.
Admiral Teague says yes. Boothby is Mr. Hand and my favorite Martian.
Sweet.
Oh, great. Risk is Jill's business. Thank you. And I'm getting happy 52nd birthday. Not that much older. You went too far. and thank you. Yeah, Miss Queen Jess.
Thorn. Is it Thorn? It is.
I guess it's Thorn. We'll
okay.
say Thorn.
We'll say Thorn.
Thorn. Okay, we'll say Thorn. I like Thorn. So then part 2 of this.
No, it is Throne. It's THRONE. Throne.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm just double checking here. I'm doing research on the fly, Jill. Don't get flustered.
No, I'm not flustered. I only have an hour to get through the Menagerie. Part 2.
Let's keep going then.
Part 2 of this episode aired on November 24th, 1966, which was also Thanksgiving that day. Very strangely enough, this was also the first year that the Cowboys, an American football team, began their yearly tradition of playing on Thanksgiving. So everyone back in the past had to, wish for good luck at resting the TV away to watch Star Trek after dinner on Thanksgiving. Or hope there was another TV in the house. Personal log, stardate 3013.1. I find it hard to believe the events of the past 24 hours or the plea of Mr. Spock standing general court-martial. And so I'm going to just mark where I was in the chat for later because I got to get to this. And start anything you like, Scotty. We're going to read them when we can. So straight up the cage from the moment on the bridge. Okay, so we're going to... It pretty much begins going straight into the cage when the episode begins.
Yes.
After they do a recap of the previous episode. And Captain Pike is being taken to the underground Telosian encampment. No, it's not an encampment. It's really where they live. It's their environment. It's their ecology.
Subterranean zoo.
Subterranean zoo, subterranean living quarters.
Looks like Gap has to take off, so have a good day. Gap says, have a good afternoon, everybody. I've got to go make lunch for 8 animals.
Oh, okay. We'll see
Cheers,
you later,
Gap.
Gap After Dark. Thank you so much for keeping on top of that, Scotty. So the Menagerie Part 2.
Like if you are on a time crunch, you can just say that they watched The Cage.
Well, okay, so Captain Pike's in a cage with transparent walls. He can't break through just with his strength. And
we see the interrogation.
Yeah, the Telosians delight in insulting his intelligence, but at this point, they don't realize the nature of humanity yet. And Pike realizes they're telepathic. But they do see potential and adaptability in humanity.
Well, and that's the funny thing when we're talking about the telepathic nature of the Telosians. They don't scan, like they don't mind probe Pike until the end of the episode. And it's like, this would have all been easier if you had just checked out whether or not we like being in captivity first.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so just in case you don't know about the Telosians, they were female actors with male voices dubbed over them.
One of them was Malachi Throne.
And they consider the captain's predicament, and Spock realizes the aliens live underground because the surface is barren. And the survivors were just an illusion, except for the one female survivor. And they realize that the Telosians can make others see what they want based on what the victim's thoughts and memories and experiences are. And Spock continues, they might just be experimenting, but maybe they want more. And so I gotta skip over all this history about Spock because we've talked about that on the Cage episode.
Yes.
How he was almost going to be red.
Oh, and he doesn't have pointy sideburns yet.
Mm-hmm.
Pointy ears, but not pointy sideburns.
I don't know at which point his dad started cutting his hair. No, that's a real thing.
That's a real thing?
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy's dad cut Leonard Nimoy's hair for Spock at some point. That became a tradition. He always did.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things about Spock. And so they decided to try to save the captain, obviously.
Yeah. And we go through Pike trying to discover a way out of his cage.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, J.D. Lewis, who says, "Hola, happy Tuesday, everybody." How long shall we stare at his back?
Until I figure out where I am. I think they skipped some of the Cage here. They skipped through some bits of it. Okay, so the Telosians already invaded Captain Pike's mind in order to find out about his memories of Rigel 3. So they recreate the memory for him, except this time he's fighting for Vina.
Longer hair, different dress, but it's still you. That woman from the encampment. And this is where we get the best tuba solo in the history of television. Sorry, I didn't mean to get a copyright strike for doing the best tuba solo.
Yeah, that was just too good, Scotty.
It was far too good.
So Kirk says that the court-martial of Mr. Spock has begun in a closed session. Mendez reminds Spock that Starfleet ordered no contact with Talos 4. And this is where they actually explain that the Telosians are transmitting these images. I know I said that before, but this is the first time they actually say it on screen. I just said it to make this review make sense. And yeah. Then we go back to the cage. And they have to fight this big ape man. Well, I guess he's not an ape man. Wait, what is he? Oh yeah.
He's an ape man.
Okay. He's just a big man with a shield and an axe. And Pike tries to refuse to play, but he's forced into it. So they do.
Well, and I know we've seen these uniforms before, but I still love the cage uniforms with sort of like the landing party jacket. It's reminiscent of the Wrath of Khan uniforms in my mind. With sort of the breast, sort of cross breast jacket.
Mm-hmm. And I might have more slideshows than are actually in the Menagerie, since I actually clipped into the cage directly into the Menagerie.
And this is the continuing experiment to see if there is a possibility of pairing Vina with Chris.
Precisely. They see that they might be bonding, so the Telosians leave them alone. And then we're back to the Menagerie. So they've settled into orbit around already? I don't know.
Around Talos 4? But basically what this is during the court-martial scene is just representing how the Telosians can create any environment and
That's what Spock's explaining here, right?
Right. Well, it sort of, because the thing is, and you don't really find out until the very end with the Vina reveal. It's like, it doesn't matter what's happened to your body, as long as your mind is sound, then we can sort of project the illusion, or you'll be able to project the illusion so that you'll be unencumbered by your handicap. Referring to Captain Pike.
That's right, because they can control your brainwaves and allow you to experience anything that they wish, or that you wish. And actually, we made a bit of a mistake. We said that this happened at the end of the last episode, but it's actually happening now. That when the Telosians stop the images because they know that Captain Pike is tired, which helps illustrate their good nature. And then we get another log. Personal log, stardate 3013.2. Reconvening the court-martial of Mr. Spock and the strangest trial evidence ever heard aboard a starship. From the mysterious planet now only 1 hour ahead of us, the story of Captain Pike's imprisonment there.
Yes. Sorry, I was fiddling.
I know. I was wondering why you're taking them off. It's just... All right. Okay, so maybe I should check in with the chat. I don't know. And see what's going on. So, Gorilla says all the cool kids' birthdays are on the 5th. Oh, that's right. Happy birthday yesterday. We said happy birthday to you yesterday, but yes.
Yeah, but Gorilla's going to be doing a stream on Saturday, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's going to have a Saturday birthday stream. Great. Oh, but this cool kid's birthday is on the 21st, says Yamas Queen Jess. Yay, December babies. December Gap After Dark says good afternoon. Oh, thank you for telling me that earlier. And Alex says happy early birthday. Birthdays are weird for a time traveler because I won't be born for another 200 years. And I'm from the future. Just don't tell Captain Infinity, says Admiral Teak.
You'll trigger his time travel.
You've triggered a 3-hour live stream just with that sentence.
Yes.
Euler Greg says, I forgot the dimensional shift caused casting and lyrics to change from my original dimension. And James Caserta likes the conference room. Yeah. If they're going to have most of the episode in the conference room, it's got to be good. And it's good. It's a good area to have a conference, have a big screen TV.
It's a phrase that I don't hear very often. Hey, this is a nice conference room.
Yeah, well, because it's got that screen with the drawings and everything. Admiral Cheek says, "Is there anything out there that says that it's the Telosians that gave the holodeck tech to the Federation? Because that would make sense."
I don't think there was any mention of it, but also the Telosians were sort of mental in terms of providing the illusions, and the holodeck is photons, force fields, and replicator technology.
Yes, the holodeck is a tangible form of an illusion that can be created with technology. That makes sense. But it could be the inspiration. Oiler Greg says, original green woman from Star Trek. That's coming up very soon. We're going to get to that in just a minute here. Admiral Teague says, if you look at the Enterprise landing party, some of them have injuries from the last mission where things went wrong. One guy's got a bandaged hand, and some people are bruised up. Wow, you are extremely observant, Admiral Teague. That's impressive. The Kalar, it was in the script, says James Caserta.
So not an 8-man.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Apologies to the Kalar. I think it's because I'm getting through it so quickly. Claude Parrish says the Kalar played by Michael Durgan, not an 8-man. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't know. I think I might have gotten it mixed up with the actual 8-man that was next to the bird in the Menagerie, and that's where that came from. And I'm chopping up the review that I previously did on the Cage. So apologies to the Kalar, and thank you to the chat for correcting me and making this review more accurate. And Admiral Teague says the Kalar might be some kind of aliens as one of the thralls. He's made up like one of the thralls from the Gamesters of Triskelion. Triskelion.
That's true. That's He kind of looks like one of the thralls.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk was a cripple too? I don't know.
Claude Paris says Jeffrey Hunter died in 1969. I wonder if he ever saw this version of his show. No, he didn't, because, well, I don't know. I mean, did they ever show him? Well, no, they could. I don't know. Did anybody?
Well, they could have showed him the Menagerie. They could have showed him this version if he was so inclined. I'm assuming that after, and I don't know how it works with television. Like, if once you finish production on a pilot, do you all sit down with the cast and crew and watch the show?
Right, because this he might have seen it at home, but I wonder if he would have watched it, because a lot of actors don't really watch what they've done sometimes. That's a good question. I wonder if anyone's ever asked Jeffrey Hunter that question. Because we know he probably never saw The Cage, but maybe he saw this.
Maybe.
And J.D. Lewis says that okay, so I'm going to use the correct terminology. Kalar, since I've been corrected. The Kalar is Robert Heron. In season 3, he would play Hollis, the Klingon, in the Savage Curtain.
Kalis.
Cool. Oh, Kalis makes more sense. Kalis. I'm like, who's Alice? Thank you.
No
Kalis. I was really confused. So true. You set the captain off now. Claude Paris says, I'm from the future too. 10 minutes from now. Hold that sneeze in, Jill. It could destroy the planet. Oh, you can tell him. You might be able to tell him I'm a bit congested. I don't think that Kirk is crippled. And Dalek says, "By the way, Jill, my brother sat next to me and he's watching the stream on his phone." Hello, Dalek's brother.
Hi,
Dalek
Lemon.
452. Hello to Lemon.
452.
Claude Paris says Jeffrey Hunter's wife forbade him for doing TV. She thought he had a future as a movie star. He did a few movies, not much of a dent in Hollywood, though. Yeah, that was really sad that she convinced him that science fiction was beneath him, and that he should go back to westerns and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
which is eventually what happened. He was thrown from a horse, wasn't he?
Yeah. He didn't live much longer after this was made, sadly, says Pop Culture Curator, and Jeffrey Hunter's wife seemed to think he was Christ himself.
Well, he did play Jesus.
I could kind of understand placing this guy on a pedestal. He's quite nice.
Oh, wow. Jill's got a crush. Jill's got a crush.
Dalek 451 says, actually, it's 450 since he's older than me. Oh, okay. He's Dalek 450. Excuse me. Okay, so where the heck am I?
Well, currently we're back in our cell with Vina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that helps. Number 1 is trying to get through.
Well, they've downloaded the phaser cannon.
Yeah.
Beamed down the phaser cannon.
Yeah, big laser cannon to try to break through the barrier. And they give it all the power they can, but they have to stop before the device is destroyed because, of course, we know the Telosians are just pretending that they're just projecting an illusion that the door is still sealed, but really the big honking laser cannon worked. And Vina agrees to tell Pike more about what the Telosians can do if he'll live out a fantasy with her. They can fool people with illusions, but they can't make him do anything if he doesn't want to, except to attempt to do so through punishment. I need just a minute. I'm having a fit over here.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, for sure. And so, with that, Vina's asking Pike if she answers some questions for him. Will Pike go and relive some fantasy with her? And so he says, perhaps. And so she starts answering the questions and discovers that intense emotions, base primal emotions, can block out their telepathy. But how long can you keep it up for? Because once you give up, or once you've sort of emotionally strained yourself, they will torture you or punish you, which is what's happening to Vina right here. Hey, Snortopopus.
Well done, Scotty. That takes us back to the cage. I mean, the menagerie.
The menage.
Somewhere in the menagerie. I think I've lost the thread, though.
Well, it's in a conference room. One of the nice ones.
Uh-huh.
See? There you go.
Because every time we go back to the menagerie, it's the same picture. So I don't know where I am in my review.
Yeah, no. Pike in the chair doesn't move much, so he's not very expressive.
I mean, they're reconvening the court-martial and the strangest evidence ever heard aboard a starship from the mysterious planet now only an hour ahead of us. Oh, okay, so they haven't reached Talos 4 yet. The story of Captain Pike's imprisonment there. So that's the next personal log. They're in the hearing room. And
this is where eat the fluid or drink the fluid. And if you don't find it appetizing, you can make it into any food you wish.
Yeah. And they won't let him go on a hunger strike without torturing him. And he's then, because he won't do as they want, he's made to feel as though he were burning alive, which is a fear he got from a story from his childhood. And I guess it was a founded fear because that's exactly what ends up happening to him.
Oh, yeah.
And, radiation burns. And possibly lots of fire, too. We never see Captain Pike's heroic rescue of the cadets and subsequent disfigurement.
One of the nice touches of that is just that when he is flailing in the depths of hell, I like how he does keep one fist as if it's still holding the vial of nutrients.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually it is. And so he actually does drink the substance after that. And hello in the chat to Snortopoopus, Q Burr. And Admiral Teague adds some information about Jeffrey Hunter. He starts in movies when he was transferred from a combat unit to the Army Signal Corps because he was too handsome to fight. The Army put him in a bunch of war movies instead. Yeah, that's reality right there. That's not just me.
Yeah, he is too handsome.
He is too handsome to fight. Agreed. Claude Paris says, he was also in The Searchers as Martin Polly alongside John Wayne, Natalie Wood, and Ward Bond.
Great movie.
Mm-hmm. Then Dr. Boyce and Dr. Piper meld into one in my mind. Two guys working past retirement.
Yeah.
And everybody's saying hi. Hello.
Doctor. James Caserta, Vina is not a sex bot.
No. She's real. Just like a human like you and me. Admiral Teague says the Thelosians are essentially told Pike he was based. And Claude Paris says Roddenberry used to take the cage to show at colleges. A friend of mine saw it at LSU and said that Gene was lying about the black and white cut-ins being all that's left. He showed an all-color version. And Herc130 says it's about time we had Snortopoopus in the house. Agreed. Claude Paris says in the final release was all in color. Gene was just holding on to the pilot as long as he could. Snortopoopus says it drinks the liquid or it gets the hose again. Eternal chocolate pudding in a glass. Yeah, right. You can make it taste like anything you want. And Admiral Teague says, Pike and the chair actor in a few episodes as a red shirt. I think he's the guy who is killed on Cestus 3 in Arena. Oh, right. He is in Arena. We said that earlier.
Is he in Arena?
Yeah, he's in Arena and another episode.
Taste of Armageddon, I thought.
Yes. You remembered.
Herc, you are absolutely correct. Natalie Wood is a very pretty lady.
Mm-hmm. And Admiral Teague says Pike's command braids are more wrong than anything we see throughout the series. Well, it's a
yeah, I noticed it too. I'm a big stickler for the rank braids, but because it's the first episode, I sort of give it a pass.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Captain Pike's testing him for weakness, that he can't read him when his thoughts are primitive. So he's starting to use that.
Where is this supposed to be again? Nevada?
Oh man, I forget.
Well, I'll go watch our review of The Cage and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, go back and go watch 3 hours of The Cage review and figure out where they are. Pike wants to know why they want him attracted to Vina, besides wanting children, but really that's it. They want children, they want a whole new species to flourish on the planet and bring everything back to life.
Thank you, Snortopoopus. Yes, they were. They're in Mojave. I remember that from the Cage review because I was thinking like because it was a desert. It was like they're in the Mojave, but it looks so green and lush.
Oh,
came,
right. Okay,
yeah.
it's a desert. That's what it was. Because I'm skipping around so much, I'm missing the details. Okay, I can't do both. Let me mark where I was. Okay, that's just a marker to show where I was, so I can figure out where I am in the review.
Okay.
Yeah, so they decide to use sympathy to try to create a paradise for Pike, where he has his horses, and Vina has a picnic spread, and Pike's understanding Doctor's speech from earlier. You either live life, bruises, skin, knees, and all, or you turn your back and start dying. So he reminds her if they have kids, they might be punished. And yeah.
Tango.
He admits that he's attracted to her. And Vina figures out that fighting on Rigel and going home aren't working as dreams because he could actually carry them out. So an illusion created of something he can't do would be more appealing to him. Something that will allow him to abandon the decency and honesty of being a captain.
So they make him a space pimp.
And so this fantasy shows up with the Orion women dancing, but
Do 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 do. And that's when we got Jose back in the menagerie being like, Orion slave girls, they're like animals, deadly, seductive. Wow.
They say no human male can resist them. And then they pan through all the males not being able to resist the image on the screen.
They even go to Chair Pike, and he's got a little bit of longing going on. He's thirsty.
Yeah, there it is. There's Kirk's and Pike's.
Hey, Chris, do you mind if we watch your sex fantasy in the control room? Is that okay? We're having a court martial, but as long as we're watching this, it's your sex fantasy, you know. Is that okay? Should I be here? Have you thought about deleting your browser history? Doodle-doo.
Okay, so I'll check out comments now. Let's see what's going on. And Starter Poopus says the first pilot ranks and insignia were much simpler. Jeffrey Hunter was on the short list to play Mike Brady on the Brady Bunch, but was rejected for being too pretty and lost the part to Robot. He was too pretty.
Wow, too good looking.
Too sexy. Admiral Teague says, I like the roll neck sweater uniform shirts. They're in where no man has gone before, but more familiar. Uniforms are so iconic. It used to be a desert. Yes, you're right. It did used to be a desert. Pike's memory takes place on the least convincing sound stages this side of Gilligan's Island.
Right. Oh, it's too bad pop culture isn't here.
I know. He knows all about all of that. Pike's rocking a classic 2250th century denim outfit. Oh, yeah, on the, with the horses. The horse.
The Canadian tuxedo. Uh-oh, green slave girls. Yes, that's right, Kronos. And if you click one of the links below. No, I'm joking.
Hark 130 says, Space Pimp is my stage name. Greasy green one. Says Snortopupus. Kronos says they're mob bosses. Oh, so welcome to Kronos. I just realized you're here. Hello. And Admiral Teague says, how is Pike suited to be a Starfleet commander when the slave dealer is one of the other things he could do with his life? He's whining to the doctor about. He's unfulfilled over never selling. No, that's not. This isn't one of his dreams. This is an attempt to give Pike something he has not dreamed about. Something that this was Vina's idea. This Venus's plan to show Pike something that would allow him to not have to be a decent captain. Something different than his memories.
Lemon pie. Yes, that Orion woman is dabbing. Another thing that Star Trek invented before anyone else.
Wow, I never considered. Claude Paris says Sean Kenny played the body double. And we got some more sex bots. Oh my goodness. Did anybody kill those?
Snortapoopus took care of it.
Thank you, Snortapoopus. I wasn't even there. I appreciate the help. Sweet. That's always good when that happens.
Yeah.
And how is Pike suited? Okay, yeah, we saw that one. Wait a minute. You posted it again. Okay. I'm going crazy. Oh, and Kronos was comfy being ignored. And
that's a possibility, Admiralty.
Okay, you're right. It could be that. But she does say that she wants to give him something that he can't have.
Well, and thank you all, everybody, for keeping an eye on our Telosian sex bots.
Yes. Thank you, guys. But Pike leaves from this dream and runs. He runs into Vina as the Orion.
And I think this is where they actually couple.
Wait, do they?
Well, I think so. Oh, wait, no, they don't, because then they go to beam down, and then Vina looks like she's, she's like, you didn't let me finish. And I was like, finish what? So I think they were about to get,
well,
bikini time, sexy time.
I don't think that happens.
I know, but I think that they get interrupted when the women beam down.
That's what happens next.
Yes.
Number 1 is taking a landing party to get inside the Telosians' living area. But when they try to transport, only the women go to Talos 4. It's a great moment. It's funny. Number 1 and Colt realize that Yom and Colt realize they're the only ones who transported, and they discover that communicators and phasers don't work, or they don't appear to work, but they really do work. And Pike is working on keeping his thoughts primitive to combat the Telosian telepathy. And Vina's still trying to win Pike over, especially now that she has competition. Number 1 realizes that they're supposed to be Adam and Eve. And Vina insults Colt's intelligence and calls Number 1 just a computer. And so Number 1 says if Vina were already an adult when the ship crashed, she'd be considerably older than she appears. Providing foreshadowing of Vina's true appearance. Yes. And the magistrate says, each of the 2 new specimens has qualities in her favor. The female you call Number 1 has a superior mind and would produce highly intelligent children. Although she seems to lack emotion, this is largely a pretense. She often has fantasies involving you. And the other new arrival has considered you unreachable, but now is realizing this has changed. The factors in her favor are youth and strength, plus unusually strong female drives.
She is DTF.
Meanwhile, Captain Pike is trying to focus.
I bet he is. DTF? Yeah, down to...
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sorry, I had to calculate. Pike is trying to focus on using hate to block their mind reading. And Spock on the Enterprise is trying to communicate with the Telosians. But all their systems have gone down, including warp. I think they skipped this in the actual Menagerie. Yeah, they skipped that part. Yeah, that's why they skipped that. They skip all that. And it's up to Captain Pike, dude, who takes the chance of the Telosian accessing the cage. Pike pulls him out and begins to choke him. And I think they actually cut out the part where he turns into a pig, but we get to see it because that's where I got my slides from.
Oh, no, they did. He turns into a pig. Yep.
Oh, he does?
Pig monster.
I didn't remember or not.
You stop this illusion right now or I'll twist your head off.
Yeah. And that's the part where the Telosians download Enterprise data, but we don't see that part.
Right. But this is when the Telosians, so he tries to blast through the transparency and says, I bet you can make it. So you just made it so that I don't believe that there's a hole.
But there really is a hole.
You want me to shoot you in the head and figure out if I'm right? And they say, no. Please don't.
Okay, and then we go back to the Menagerie. Let's see.
And yes.
So Kirk says, strange evidence from the past how Telosians planning to breed a society of human slaves tempted Captain Pike with the Earth woman they held in captivity, and as she appeared to him in many forms, each more exciting than the last, Pike was beginning to weaken. They actually were saying that earlier. Said that earlier during the Green Woman scene. And Mendez is speaking to Hansen, who says we're entering orbit of Talos 4. So now in the Menagerie, they reach Talos 4. Talos controls the vessel now. You've asked me why. You'll see the answer now. So they're going back to the episode. Oh, wait a second.
It's not on. Can you turn it on? There's nothing playing on the TV.
I know. What's going on? I'm missing a bit of what was happening here. Your Telosians seem to have abandoned you.
Oh, right.
But what happens there? Do you remember?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither.
More fighting. Yeah. Oh, and do we
they're entering orbit.
And have they regained control?
Yeah, Talos controls the vessel. No,
Talos controls the vessel.
No, Talos controls the vessel as they did 13 years ago. Yeah, so then here's sort of the end of it, of the cage.
They've decided that they would rather destroy themselves than remain in captivity.
Yes, the magistrate believes, at first he believes he'd get Pike to stay behind and be married, live on the surface, rebuild the agriculture on the planet, and Pike offers to stay with Vina if they let Number 1 and Colt go. But Number 1 decides to defend her captain. She sets her phaser to overload, saying it is wrong to create slaves, which I think they also cut from the Menagerie, which they cut Number 1's best lines. What the heck? But at least she's there.
Yes.
However, more Telosians arrive, so Number 1 turns off the overload because the magistrate explains, we had not believed this possible. The customs and history of your race show a unique hatred for captivity. Even when it's pleasant and benevolent, you prefer death. This makes you too violent a species for our needs. And with that, they're let go, but inform the crew that the Telosians will die out without anyone to do the work that they're not now physically unable to do. And Vina informs them that she cannot go along.
And yes, this is my favorite Pike line. Mm-hmm. And so we get the do, and she starts to crumple.
Yeah.
Because as she explains that when the Columbia crashed, the Telosians did their best to put her back together, but they had no frame of reference. They didn't know what a human looked like, and so everything works, but she is not of her original beauty.
Construction. Yeah.
Construction, yes.
Their sewing job needed some work. And she opts to stay. Okay, so at that point, I need to go back to the menagerie.
Yes. So then we see Vina in her more beautiful form, back to the form that was presented when it was the survivor encampment. And then number one says, "Where's Vina?" And Pike says, "She's not. She didn't. She's not coming with us." And I understood her reasons.
Right.
And so there we go, ahead to our next mission, Warp Factor Oblivion.
Mm-hmm. Engage.
And we have B-roll from the original pilot as a communication from the Telosian magistrate saying, if he chooses to come, he is welcome. Right?
Yeah. Hold on
Cool.
a second. I am. Yeah, okay. So the keeper says, what you now seem to hear, Captain Kirk, are my thought transmissions. The Commodore was never aboard your vessel. His presence there and in the shuttlecraft was an illusion.
There you go. Answer.
Mr. Spock had related to us your strength of will. It was thought the fiction of a court-martial would divert you from too soon regaining control of your vessel. Captain Pike is welcome to spend the rest of his life with us, unfettered by his physical body. The decision is yours and his. And you can imagine the decision is not too difficult for Captain Pike. This line, I love this line. Kirk says, Mr. Spock, even if regulations are explicit, you could have come to me and explained.
And Spock says, you go for it.
Ask you to face the death penalty too? One of us was enough, Captain. And that's incredible. Because Spock took the responsibility of deception, in this case, to save his friend, so that only one of them might face a death penalty if anyone was going to be punished for going to Talos 4. Then Spock wanted to make sure it would only be him and not also Captain Kirk or anyone else on the Enterprise, which is incredibly thoughtful. I don't know, courageous.
I mean, absolutely, selfless.
And Uhura gets sends a message from Starbase 11. Received images from Talos 4 in view of historic importance of Captain Pike in space exploration. General Order 7 prohibiting contacting Talos 4 is suspended this occasion. No action contemplated against Spock. Proceed as you think best. Signed, Mendez, J.I. Commodore, Starbase 11. And so Kirk asks Captain Pike if he wants to go.
Beep.
And Spock takes him.
But not before a little bit of gentle ribbing from Captain Kirk.
Yes, or Mr. Spock. What, you want to read this one?
Sure. Do you want to throw it in the private chat?
Yeah. We haven't read anything, so it should be one. Let's see.
So Kirk says, Mr. Spock, when you're finished, please come back and see me. I want to talk to you. This regrettable tendency you've been showing lately towards fragrant emotionalism. Do you want to be Spock?
I see no reason to insult me, sir. I believe I've been completely logical about the whole affair. And welcome back, Pop Culture Curator.
Hey, hello, guys. How are you?
We're doing great. How are you doing? You got your...
I'm great. I just got home, let the dogs out, and came in just time for the end of the stream. And I know you have to end it soon, so I'm here to listen mostly.
Well, actually, you're just in time for sort of the end of the episode, and when we're going to be talking about our overall thoughts for the episode. So it's going to be
Okay, great.
You come back perfect. And then the keeper says one more thing to Captain Kirk. He shows him the healthy young Vina and a healthy young Pike walking in together. Captain Pike has an illusion, and you have reality. May you find your way as pleasant.
Ba 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 ba.
Hey.
Ba ba. And that was the Menagerie, part 1 and 2.
Yes, and before we go over my overall thoughts, I want to check out the chat and see what I missed.
Cool.
I just wanted to get through the review just in case I ran out of time.
Yeah, let me know if you're having any trouble with your poll like I did.
Oh, so far so good.
So I wonder what's going on with my channel. I guess they don't like my polls.
I don't know. I'm sorry. That's weird. You know, I would say contact YouTube, but there's no way to talk to a human being initially. Right. It's really difficult to actually get in touch.
Yeah.
Admiral Teague says, Pike says he no longer enjoys command. Then he says there's other professions. I guess this is when there was still money in space. Yeah. Star Trek wasn't sure what it was quite yet. But even in Star Trek, you still do have different positions you can get.
Yeah, I was gonna say
jobs to do.
Right. Does that necessarily mean cash or money? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. That's just an opinion.
And Admiral Teague says, Scotty, if Pike and Vina get together, it's basically amputee porn. Basically. Well, you know, that's exactly what's happening, though, at the end there when they have their happy ending where they appear to be young and healthy and happy on Talos 4. They're really going to, live together.
So I guess the illusion gives Pike the ability to walk, talk, and everything else.
Yes, or at least the notion that is what is actually happening.
Well, he'd be able to communicate telepathically.
I wonder what the man inside is actually. Yeah, the man inside, what's he actually experiencing is what I wonder.
I don't know. That is an interesting question.
Well, if you consider what Pike is up to in the cell, like he's running all over that palace and he's like he's doing stuff, but he's not necessarily moving. So I think he could actually even just remain in his chair.
Yeah, it's sort of a telepathic matrix.
Yeah, I don't think he has to move around, but I think it'll give him the sensation and feeling of walking and talking and being back to his old self.
Yeah, kind of like BR.
Kind of like that.
Claude Paris said this episode was the first time I've heard a woman complain about not finishing.
If you know what I mean. And I do. Yes, I do. James Caserta, I agree. I would take all 3 as well. And now he can.
Number one. Well, yeah. Well, if he wants number 1 in Cult, he could. But that might be. I don't think that Vina would like that very much.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe Vina is into it. Who knows?
Oh, okay. That's, I guess. Vina would have been in her late 30s. That's practically a granny. I'm practically a granny. Oh my god. Okay. I'm gonna stop.
Ooh.
Well, Pike was gray sideburns, right? Pike had like gray sideburns, so I was guessing he would be in his mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Guys get to grow old, but women, oh my god, they grow old. They're practically grannies. Snortopoopas Cuber says,
guys don't think that. Only women think that.
Okay. Sort of Goop says, and then Pike was torn to pieces in the three-way brawl between three horny women. What a way to go.
It's not a bad one.
And yeah, his anger was raising.
Pig Gorilla.
Yeah, Pig Gorilla. Oh, yes, excuse me, Pig Gorilla. The creature that the Thelosian pretended to turn into. And J.D. Lewis says, I'm not sure which one, but I think Laurel Goodwin was one in Elvis movies later.
Yes.
And thank you for posting my Twitter, Matchy. This is the second captive female crew member is Elvis' love interest in the movie Girls, Girls, Girls. And I think that was just said here. Laurel Goodwin.
Yes.
Yeah, that those two comments work together. Great. Even the Telosians are no. The Telosians are real. No, let's not confuse Captain Cock and Spock. Okay, so Admiral Teague says, "Do the Telosians are essentially trying to desperately have humans so they can watch reality TV?" If you think about it, yeah. And you know who actually thought about it was Seth MacFarlane. That's exactly his takeaway from the cage, and that's why we get that episode in the Orville where they're captured by the Kalon, not the Kalons, that alien race.
Yes.
That takes them in as zoo. They have a zoo. They have a menagerie of their own.
And those races look similar to the Telosians.
They kind of do. They really did. But if anybody remembers what that race is, let me know. Because I could think of it earlier, but now I'm already forgetting everything. But yeah, so they're kind of similar to the menagerie there. And the way that the episode ended was that they gave that species all of their reality TV programming that they had on the Orville. And so that became the human exhibit, was to watch reality TV. And it was the most popular exhibit.
Didn't they release all their other exhibits because of it, didn't they? Or did they mention that?
No,
I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't know. Did they? I don't think they did.
Just the humans.
Yeah, just humans. Caliban, that's what they're called. Doesn't Admiral Teague says, doesn't it seem like the Telosians are desperately trying to have humans so they can watch reality TV? Yes. And I don't know. I forget.
I thought wasn't the video that they gave them was like Desperate Housewives of Beverly Hills or whatever that show was?
Yeah, that's right. And the Orville is Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, it was
that they gave the Calivans.
Right, that was the one that everybody was so enthralled in. Yes.
Troy's mother is everywhere. Yeah, no, that's not wrong. She's everywhere. She's either going to be Loxana, number one. She's going to be Nurse Chapel. And if she's not that, she's still in the episode because she's the computer.
True. Majel is Star Trek.
James Caserta, you haven't made a more perfect comment than this comment. Majel Barrett is Star Trek. And Bina is Elephant Man, according to Kronos.
Yes.
Sometimes. Says, very arrogant to think that only humans would hate captivity, even when pleasant.
Well, we've learned that whales don't, and other sea creatures. So that, it depends on the intelligence or how much we're willing to recognize.
That's absolutely true. Whales need, not only do they hate captivity, but all of the noise that we make in the ocean keeps them from communicating as long a distances as they normally can, as they used to be able to do. They used to be able to communicate hundreds of miles, and now it's been stifled by all of the noise they're making. So we're not popular with the whales.
Oh, elephants is another one, right? They don't like it.
No. Yeah, because they also communicate with sound by stomping their feet. And Admiral Teague says, we see these weird original phasers again when we meet up with Roger Corby in the episode where Major comes back too.
Right, and they actually kind of played really well into the plot of those episodes because we figured that those were old colonies that had old hardware around, and the Enterprise had newer phasers.
Yeah, and they were underground too. Well, no, they didn't promise that. Nobody ever made that promise. I mean, now Pike and Bina are together. I mean, not that it's possible, but is it possible? I don't know.
I don't know.
Admiral Teague says, I did it because the show is out of money, Captain. I mean, because I didn't want you to face the death penalty.
You guys have you guys heard about the tweet from William Shatner about Kirstie Alley?
Oh no.
No.
He just tweeted, saddened to hear of the passing of Kirstie Alley. Condolences to her family and friends. Sorry about that noise.
Absolutely. That's okay. My phone's been making noise the whole episode.
Did you guys hear the story with her with chickens on the set of Star Trek 2?
Chickens on the set of Wrath of Khan. Tell me about chickens.
She had pet chickens. She said were comfort animals, and she demanded they be on the set with her, and apparently they wreaked havoc on the set.
I could imagine. I'm surprised we didn't see any chickens or hear any chickens in the movie accidentally that made it through editing.
Yeah,
so they did a good job on that movie for us not to recognize the existence of all her chickens. How many comfort chickens did she need? I
will look it up and have that for you next time we have a stream.
Okay. Yes, rest in peace to Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to speak up. I'm glad he did.
I'm glad too. And Admiral Teague says, how can they trust that transmission from Starbase 11? They know they're being mentally manipulated. There was lots of problems with Kirk being naive. Well, yeah, that's true at the end when they say, oh, everything's fine. You can go ahead and send Captain Pike. Where nobody's going to be killed for disobeying this rule. That's true. They just accept it at the end there. Good point. But I still love the episode.
Yes, I agree. And
James Caserta says it's all about saving lives. I mean, the money. It was about both. Stormpoopus Cuber says the line is amusing because of the emotion Spock was showing during the cage sequences.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Kirk does mention in terms of not necessarily about the affair of kidnapping Pike and taking him to Talos, but the unfortunate outbursts of emotion that were coming through the view screen.
The women!
The women! So you like flowers that vibrate, do you, Mr. Spock?
And Jay Lewis says, if TOS was serialized like Deep Space Nine, it would have taken Spock the rest of the season to get back into Kirk's good grace.
Well, not only that, we wouldn't be talking about it now. Wouldn't have been successful. Back then, that was only daytime television that drug it out through entire seasons or years.
Kronos gives the episode 4 out of 5 beeps. Oh, yeah, that's right. When I was a kid, the only serialized, until Sopranos, the only serialized storytelling was soap operas.
Yep. But this is what happens when they start hiring soap operas for prime time. And this is exactly why prime time is turned into serialized, because for that very reason.
Yeah. Well, and if I may present the best argument against the serialization in further Star Trek.
Yes.
I would never live in the 24th century. I fucking hate the Next Generation. Only the original series, only classic.
Whenever I can. Whenever I can.
I appreciate that, sir. My sentiments exactly.
I'm very glad I have that clip just for you, Pop Culture Curator.
Well, because, I appreciate it, right?
Yeah, it is incredible that I have that on there because I actually love the Next Generation.
Yeah, in just a few lines, he pretty much sums up my entire feelings without having to go into detail.
Well, I do have a rebuttal.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
I'm just gonna pray with all the buttons, okay?
What did he say?
Yeah. Well, I had missed playing these clips during the Free Enterprise review because these are some of the references in the movie.
It's true. It's true. But the main reason that I'm playing with the buttons.
What can I do for you, Jim? I said, give me the brandy.
Okay, that's 3. I'm done.
That's a good reason. Admiral Teague says the Telosians got a space contractor to come by and fix all that damage to their main entrance. So someone's been there.
No, they still show the destroyed lift, if you will.
Yeah, I think it not being destroyed was an illusion. I don't know. What Admiral Teague says makes sense. How do they get back down to the compound if it's destroyed? Right, because they can't do it themselves. They can't do anything. That's why they've kidnapped the humans in the first place, or they saved the Vina and then kidnapped Pike.
Unless they turned some of their prisoners into slaves and had them rebuild it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. They had to have some other sapient imprisoned beings that could fix it.
I think the biggest point of luck they had was the fact that they shot the scene where the Telosians made a duplicate of Pike, because that helped them wrap up ultimately this episode as well. It gave our ending where it looks like Pike went back to the planet.
Yeah, it did. I thought that was interesting. That was neat. It was really neat how the 2 episodes fit together so perfectly.
Yeah, as a kid, I was very confused. Like, how'd they get that scene where he went back into the planet? I mean, I knew it was a different actor. So even when I was a kid, I knew it was a different actor playing the one in the wheelchair. But once I saw the cage, it all made sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Menagerie does make more sense when you see the cage. And Yama's Queen Jess gives it a B. And Snortopoopas Cuber says, reverse the polarity on the poles. I like that. It has a double meaning for the poles that we voted on and also the magnetic poles, north and south. Nice. Krona says Pike had something he really needed to beep.
Thank you for the self-censorship.
Lemon Pie says, what happens to people who just don't want to work because they don't want to in Star Trek? In Star Trek's moneyless universe.
Well, you think if they had them technology there where mentally he's controlling the button and the light, the beep, beep, beep. So he's controlling yes or no. It's too bad they couldn't have added the volume in there. So where he really wants to get his, people's attention, beep, 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 beep.
Mr. Neurotic one.
Right.
Well, the Orville actually had an answer for this too, that people worked for the reputation of it. It's a good question.
Well, I'm sure it'd get to the point where he would be beeping loudly all the time and somebody would say, will you just go over there and turn that thing off? I'm tired of hearing that all day.
Please unplug the captain.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did Cisco's father run a business without money? Yeah, he had a because you got a replicator and you just need some energy. I guess you gotta use a. Well, wait, didn't he use real food?
He probably used real food.
Mm-hmm. He had employees at Kronos. So Dalek451 says, since it's been a while, I'm thinking of doing another stream after yours is over, Joe. So the economics of Star Trek is its whole own live stream, and I only have like 20 minutes to close out this live stream. Otherwise, I would get into that. That is the whole thing that would require. Maybe we could talk about it on Friday a little bit.
The economics of Star Trek?
Yeah, sure, just a little bit.
Sure.
I'll go ponder that, since it seems to be a very topic that interests many people in my chat. So we're going to talk a bit about that on Friday. I'm going to type that down as a topic of interest on Friday. But, not a whole big thing because it's my birthday. But
right.
A little thing.
Don't do too much work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's how. But it's very popular topic. Lemon Pie says it's not moneyless except for the Federation. He asks lots of questions, like the Ferengi use money. That's right. Right, the Latinum. James Caserta says she'll give him another nightmare. And Admiral Teague says we see every single person in that survivor camp trapped again. Some of them are in Errand of Mercy, Return of the Archons, and City on the Edge of Forever. Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, they definitely recycled their actors.
That's pretty cool. I love that they're actually real now. You know, they go from being just the illusion to actually being an episode. Well, they are actually, but you know, they're not just illusion. They're characters.
Kronos asks, how do you press gold into latinum? Actually,
you put the
funny
latinum
story.
in the gold.
The latinum goes in the gold. Latinum is actually liquid.
Mm-hmm. That's how Morn saved all of his latinum. He swallowed it and lost all his hair as a result, but
Yes.
kept all of his latinum. That makes no sense.
I wonder if they gave him the illusion that he was thin.
James Caserta says Elvis was trapped by the Telosians too. Oh, okay. That's the conspiracy theory that Elvis isn't dead. He just went home.
Thank you,
Home
Agent
to the
K.
toilet. He lived on the toilet.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you go to Graceland, that's the only thing they won't let you see is the toilet he died on.
Oh, talk about disrespectful.
Lemon Pie says, Kronos, I thought it's latinum with gold overlay. Yes, exactly.
Yes, Lemon.
I don't know. Something is pressed. Stormpoop's keyword says latinum, which is liquid form of unobtainium, is pressed inside gold bars or strips. The gold itself is worthless. Yeah, it's just a casing. Orla Greg has to go. See you later.
See you, Greg.
Take care.
I'm sure I'm like 15 minutes late on that. Kronos wants all of Snortopoopus's or gold. And Admiral Teague says, every time I delete a comment to fix the grammar, it shows up anyway. From now on, you just get the bad spellings. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Deleted comments don't show up for me. Like, if you delete a comment, I'm still going to see it. Sorry.
Yeah, the moderators or the owners of the channel still see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I actually wouldn't mind at least hiding it and just making me unhide it to see what it was. Would be nice. That way I know that the sender of the communique didn't want me to read it.
Yeah, it's hilarious when sometimes people will put something in the chat, something along the lines of a personal note to the host asking them a question and say, please don't read this aloud. And then the host go ahead and reads it aloud anyway.
I haven't had that happen to me yet, I don't think. I think I would start I think I would start the sentence, please don't read this aloud, and then I'd stop.
Right. Yeah, start with please don't read this aloud.
That goes to show you who is actually paying attention to what they're reading when they're reading the chats. And Snortopoopus says Klingons would get very pissy in captivity. Yeah, I think The Cage would be a very different episode featuring Klingons. The Telosians are in trouble. Kronos says Cardassians have butts that are quite alien. I think you're getting your Cardassians mixed up, Kronos. Yeah, and Admiral Teague adds that to Snortopoopus that it's insane how the Telosians had to learn captivity was mean from humans after how many millions of years of doing it. Yeah. So how are you guys doing? Oh. And Kronos says, I like pigs in space.
Which you'll never see again thanks to Disney.
Oh. What did Disney do?
Well, just like the other franchise, they bought up the Muppets and then killed them.
Eliminate
the competition. Yes, eliminate the competition. It's very effective.
How did they kill the Muppets?
But do you see the Muppets? What do you see them currently doing that's popular or trending or anything else?
I don't know. Besides Sesame Street.
What they did, I don't know if you remember, Jill, but as soon as Disney bought up the rights, they came out with a modern update for modern audiences version of the Muppets where Kermit the Frog can no longer harass Mrs. Piggy.
Harass?
Harass, which, as we all know, that was never the case.
When did I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a very, very
Kermit
short
ever
lived.
harassing. If anything, it was Miss Piggy who.
Yes, but Disney wasn't. Well, but Disney wasn't going to show that. But it didn't even last a season. It was horrendous.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I never heard about any of that because I guess I stopped watching the Muppet Show when I was a kid. Dalek says, "Did you see my last chat?"
I think it was in regards to him doing a live stream after you were done here.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Scotty. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll be done pretty soon. I mean, I have to quit soon. So. Yeah, so Dalek's going to be Dalek 451 is going to have a stream pretty soon. That's exciting. Thank you for remembering, Scotty.
Cheers.
I didn't catch that. I was trying to get through the review.
Well, we were in the middle of the economics question, and so.
Oh, okay. And Kronos says, "I like space chicken nuggies." No, you cannot eat Kirstie Alley's chickens. She needs them.
Oh, no, she doesn't. Not anymore. Too soon. All right.
Too soon. Yes, it's too soon. She still needs them.
I just looked up the Muppets. It was 2015. It didn't even last a season. And the description on Internet Movie Database is Jim Henson's lovable Muppets return to the small screen in this mockumentary style series that follows their personal and professional lives. And it was worse than it sounds.
That sounds like they're trying to be The Office or something.
Possibly, but
that's weird.
It was all kinds of wrong, and it was pretty much the death knell for the Muppets. Like everything else Disney's done, yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry for all you Muppet fans out there. Star Trek fans, or Star Wars, Marvel, all of it, right?
Oh, we're not starting this up again. You'll always be able to watch the Muppet movie.
Well, the classics, yes. Like we were talking about with movies and TV shows like yesterday. But but don't expect anything new. Or anything good that's not going to be social reprogramming to come out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at that. Sort of Poopa said they had their Pac-Lid captives fixed.
That makes sense. Well, yeah, can Pac-Lids fix stuff? I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean they totally can put things together. They have a discombobbled ship that's made up of all different kinds of other ships put together. So they may have stolen their technology, but they know how to put it together somehow.
They are smart.
They can fix things.
They make things go.
The Pac-Lids are just misunderstood. Yes, they take advantage of the fact that everyone thinks they're dunderheads. They still are, but not as badly as they project.
Right.
And Admiral Teague says, were they working in a better chair for Pike? Because Stephen Hawking in our time has more ability to communicate. It's a rare time when Trek gets the future wrong. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That they didn't predict that.
Didn't Stephen Hawking use something in his mouth, right?
That's right. Pike had no ability to move whatsoever.
Right, his mouth was almost sealed. He had like it opened just a little crack on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put a stick in it, he's going to suffocate.
So that's why my idea was to use Morse code, which could have been used. But then Scotty said maybe that was too complex because even in Star Trek's future, we still don't understand the brain well enough to project that complex of communication.
Do you think that chair has a little door in the back for disposal? Yeah.
Yes.
That was never addressed.
No, thank goodness. I wonder if a little light comes on saying that it needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
A very often answer to where the poop goes in Star Trek is teleportation, so they could do that. And Snorter Poopus says, and Starfleet ships were built by some form of advanced moneyless Amish-born raising. What? I don't know what that's a reference to exactly. But it's a joke that I lost because it made more sense probably when I was actually talking about the thing we were talking about.
Now, TNG era, they didn't have a kitchen, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because by then it was full replicators, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a place to eat, but place to relax. They had 10 forward. They didn't have a kitchen. Yeah.
They didn't have a cafeteria where they could sit and eat lunch?
Well, 10 forward.
Yeah.
Isn't that a bar?
Yeah, that was a bar. But they
Same deal, though.
It seems kind of small to accommodate that entire crew for lunchtime, but I don't know.
I don't either.
I guess life on the Next Generation was kind of antisocial when it came to lunch.
Well, it reminds me of schools, like when I was a teacher at elementary schools. The third graders would go, and then the fourth graders would go, and then the fifth graders, because the cafeteria could only hold so many.
Right.
And I'm wondering if they had to rotate on the Enterprise for lunch, or take it back to their quarters. I don't know, but obviously the food wasn't allowed on the bridge.
Right. Just soda. Wait, I'm going back to the Orville again. Lemon Pie says, remember when Quark said, press this? Actually, I don't.
Neither do I, actually. Sorry.
And Kronos says to me, okay, then I won't. Admiral Teak says, Pop Culture Curator is 100% right about the Muppets and Disney. And James Caserta is going to bed. Good night, James Caserta.
Sweet dreams, Jimmy.
Kronos says, rest in peace, Allie.
Yeah, Muppets Now or Muppets Tonight, I think it was called.
I don't even know. I'm out of date. Kronos says they make things go. They make things go. Admiral Teague says, sadly, we don't know that Disney wants to change the Muppet movie. They have that ability now. Oh, well, yeah, physical media, guys.
Yeah, they can't change my copy of the Muppet movie.
Admiral Teague says the Packlids episode is basically movie Captain Phillips in a lot of ways. I've never seen that. And he continues, if he could trigger light, then he could say his mind is intact. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's just the Muppets, and that's when they tried to make it into like a Office-esque, Parks and Rec-esque.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like when he described it. Oh my goodness. And Cronus says, I thought the kitchen was brought up in TNG. Okay, maybe.
I don't recall.
I don't either. You could be right. Snorpoop, it says in TOS they showed a slot in the wall of the transport room that would deliver chicken soup. Yes, that's right. So there was a preparation. There was a chef in TOS, and there was food preparation from the ship's stores. And there was a machine that would form the food from the ship stores into shapes.
Right. So they're just lucky that that soldier happened to ask for something they had in their food stocks, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so final thoughts of the episode. I think I give this episode, just like I'd give The Cage, an A+. It's an incredible use of the pilot that the world didn't get to see, given the past history of Captain Pike and Talos 4, adding a new history, also adding to Spock's character. But also adding to Captain Pike's character, giving him a new history for him, making him a hero who sacrificed everything to save others, and also Spock. And that heroism of Captain Pike justifies Spock violating the laws to never return to that planet, so that Pike can live out the rest of his days in a comfortable fantasy that he's earned, than having to live in a vegetative state. And I guess also everything I said about The Cage too.
Mm-hmm.
And Admiral T gives the episode a B. What do you think of the episode, Scotty?
I'm teetering between a B+ and an A-, and I think a lot of it, me going B, is just because I've seen this episode so many times. Not only through watching the Menagerie, but also watching The Cage as well. And so it's kind of like an album that I've over listened to. And so it's kind of like, oh, this again. But in terms of when I first saw it and the way that it deals with the history of the Enterprise, the relationship of Spock and his captains, the relationships are all great. I love Malachi. He shows up as Pardek again in Unification 1 and 2. I really like it, so I think I'm going to stick with an A-. And the only thing that makes it a minus is we just recently watched The Cage. So but when I was a kid, this is the one. If I was going to watch something, I wanted to watch the 2-hour version. So this is great. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and even though Spock is in control of his emotions, I'm not when I realize the sacrifice he's made for the whole crew. And what do you think of the episode, Pop Culture Curator?
I would say I have to give it an A+.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of foreshadowing the future relationship between Kirk and Spock, in my opinion, and it showed Kirk just how loyal Spock could be and is. I gotta stifle my phone.
That's right. Yeah. Spock was not doing just for the crew, but also for his former captain.
Loyalty and friendship, right? And it reminds me similar of that line from City on the Edge of Forever. The line from Edith Keeler says, "City on the Edge of Forever," that she imagined that those two were always together and always will be. So I think it kind of bonded their friendship. And Spock knew that when he spoke to a Malachi Throne. I can't remember the character's name now because my phone was cutting in and out. I apologize.
Commodore Mendez. Okay.
Thank you. And that's when Kirk realized that. At first, of course, he was extremely upset with Spock. But once he realized what was going on, I think that's when he knew he had the best first officer and friend in Starfleet. And then once again, it just established and cemented those characters. And as fate would have it, what's interesting, if time would have been differently, if Jeffrey Hunter would have decided to take up the role, he would still be alive now, probably. But then, of course, we wouldn't have William Shatner.
But then we wouldn't have Captain Kirk.
Nope. So it's just interesting how fate works, and it's really sad. He was a young man when he died, and he did some great movies. I mean, I can see his opinion. Usually, when actors, Tasha Yar, whatever her name is, for example, when they say I'm too good for that, they end up regretting that and coming back on their hands and knees. But when you look at his Jeffrey Hunter's resume, he was actually on his way up, and he made some pretty big movies. I know you guys mentioned The Searchers earlier, but he played Jesus. He played a lot of movies that were pretty groundbreaking. So he was on his way up. If he hadn't tragically died, he may have become a very successful movie star. He had the looks and the acting chops for it, certainly.
Yeah. Agreed. He was great. But things happened the way they did. Well, thank you.
A+. Definitely A+ for me.
Yeah, okay. And also we have a poll in the chat where we can see what the audience gave the overall score from the poll. So I'm going to share that. Share this. And so I'm going to end the poll here. Started 4 hours ago with 24 votes. We have 75% give the episode an A. 21% give it a B. 4% give it an F or D.
Thanks, Gorilla.
Yeah, thanks, Gorilla. Thanks for voting in my poll, Gorilla. So I'll end the poll. And copy that for posting later. And Sora Poopa says, 1 beep yes, 2 beep no, 3 beeps, change my diaper. Krona says, I think a kitchen was brought up. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Well, I'm glad I read. I had missed a Sora Poopa's joke.
So maybe they had the replicators, but they had a kitchen if you wanted a custom meal of some sort.
Maybe, but we never got to see it. It sounds like it was mentioned in passing rather than actually something that was seen. I think there was a TNG movie that had a kitchen.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm
I
not
was
sure
tuned
either.
out
I
at
can't
that point.
think.
Yeah, I tuned out before that.
Yeah, they do. They do mention it because remember they have to go see those little short aliens at the beginning of Insurrection, and they say, are you aware that our guests are vegetarians?" And it's like the kitchen doesn't know that.
You remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Did they call it kitchen or galley?
I don't recall that specifically. I know Troy says it.
Mm-hmm.
Mork.
Admiral Teague says B+ for the Menagerie. Respectable. We are the Bork. And JPRPH1, it says A+ for me. Kronos gives it a B. It's a good episode. And Admiral Teague says it's a B because it has issues like emotional smiling spot. Oh, well.
Well, just look at the difference. I mean, here, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Look how great these episodes are right off the bat in the first season of this series, unlike future Star Trek rehashes. I mean, by the time
Star Trek The Next Generation is good. Get off my lawn.
Okay, but it took, a season or two for that to get rolling, and then 2 or 3 seasons of DS9 and 3 or 4 of Enterprise? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, actually, Deep Space Nine maybe didn't find what it wanted to be for the first 3 seasons, but from the very beginning, it did a very good job of starting character building for everybody.
You guys didn't miss the exploration part of it, huh?
They still explored the Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah, there was some, but yeah, it was a vastly different Star Trek series. Well, we had so many different other Star Trek series going on. We had Voyager also to do exploring.
Was Voyager going on at the same time as DS9, or was it after?
Same time.
Same time.
Gotcha.
And so it was a way to explore a different kind of Star Trek. Because the original series established the existence of space stations. Let's have a show on one, and that's Deep Space Nine. And Admiral Teague says it's a B because it has issues like that. But okay. Snortapoop says I give the episode an A, although I'm not sure if there's actually an episode or if it was a Telosian illusion.
Let's go with the latter.
Yeah. This whole review is an illusion.
Yes.
Did I give it an A or was that an illusion too? I have a headache now. Or do I?
You got pulsating things on the side of your head.
Oh yeah, I remember. They actually did a lot of work to make those effects for the pulsing heads. I remember. Well, if you want to hear more about that, it's in my Cage review.
Exactly.
Because I went through that Cage episode really quickly. And Kronos says, "You have been and always shall be my friend. Live long and prosper."
Let me ask you guys' opinion about something. Okay, when TOS came out, it had to struggle because it was the underdog. Nobody gave it any credit. And like I said, even NBC thought it was just another space show, and that's why they kept dumping all the money into Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
But by the time Next Generation came out, we knew it was established. They knew Star Trek was a cash cow and a moneymaker. So they easily greenlit it and gave them an entire season and said, "Oh, sure, it's Star Trek. Here you go. Everybody's hired." Mm-hmm. I think the reason why, in my opinion, the quality of the episodes lacked severely is because they were lackadaisical. How is that the right term?
Well, no, I think
they didn't have to compete like they did back in the 60s.
No, well, they built models, they did stuff. They were trying, but their problem was that they were trying to be TOS, and they
right. No, I'm talking about the writing specifically,
and
just
so,
the writing.
And so, well, I am too. And so in the writing, they were trying to make it the original series, like having the Naked Now as a copy of the Naked Time, and that was the mistake they were making, trying to be TOS and trying to, instead of trying to forge their own path, which they finally did.
Right, those phase 2 scripts should not have been used. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, in some cases it worked, like with the episode with the devil.
Yeah, Devil's Due.
Yeah.
Well, and
usually it didn't.
This is, and I know this is something that people bring up when it comes to Kurtzman Trek, but like the reality was when Star Trek The Next Generation came out, people didn't think that they would be able to recreate lightning in a bottle. The original crew were incredibly iconic, so people thought it was rather silly. Patrick Stewart himself didn't even unpack for the first season because he didn't think he thought it was going to be canceled. So to say that it was sort of they rolled out the red carpet for Star Trek The Next Generation really didn't occur until probably like people didn't become accepting of it until like the second season.
And to be perfectly honest, though, a lot of people say that the first season is bad, and when it's bad, it's horrendous and just absolutely unbelievably terrible. But I actually like half of the episodes of season 1.
Me too. I think it still has some, it doesn't have its sea legs, but it does have some charm, and the building of the characters. I really appreciate it. And
me too.
You know what? There's some, while you can say the first 2 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation aren't very good, if you're doing a rewatch on The Next Generation, just be thankful that it's going to continuously get better.
Yep.
Well, as far as your point, which I agree about,
I wouldn't listen.
That they didn't know, like you said about Patrick Stewart not unpacking and not knowing how well it was going to do. The original cast and TOS was the same way. They didn't know how long that series was going to last either, and they were shocked as well by how it was. They didn't have anybody to compete with because they were the first iteration of Star Trek, but they were just as equally thinking that every day or every week it was going to be canceled. A lot of shows were like that back then.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you, Snortapoopus, for smashing that bot. And I wish you could come to our Friday shows, Pop Culture. This is a really good discussion. I'm
sorry, you got to go.
No, but this is a really, you could have carried this stream for another hour with that talk. Like I'm really excited to keep talking about it, but I got stupid real life stuff to do.
I understand.
But I do appreciate that. One of these days, you gotta take off on Friday so I can talk to you.
There'll always be another day, right? We'll figure something out.
Mm-hmm. Or we could talk about it next time we have the animated series, because I really like this topic.
Okay.
And I actually ran out of time, so I've got to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, everybody, for all of the amazing chats. Not only could Pop Culture's discussion have carried us through another hour, but the chat here is talking a bunch about DS9 and TNG. Well, they're just elaborating on Pop Culture's really great topic.
Well, I know there's a lot of dedicated fans out there, and I do respect you guys.
Yes, yeah, you absolutely do, or we wouldn't be here. You have a lot of respect for everybody's opinions, and as we do for yours.
Yeah.
And so thank you, everybody, for being here today. And I don't have time to shout everybody out, but I think I did read a comment from everybody who's been here. So we did at least get to say hello to you. I didn't realize it was already 3. Otherwise, I would keep going. But we did at least accomplish. I was afraid I wasn't going to get through this review, so at least we did accomplish that. We got through the Menagerie, and it was great and wonderful.
Great job. Yeah, you guys did terrific.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All we were missing were your insertions of the Inside Star Trek. So
we'll
whatever.
Pick up with that next week.
Time. Pick it up for Shore Leave, which will be good because this one was already a really long review. So actually, it was kind of good that we didn't have all of the wonderful extra stuff you have, because that would have extended us a little more.
Okay.
So everything worked out.
Hooray!
And JPS says you did such a great job with these streams. Thank you. You're welcome. And you're welcome, everybody.
Jill has the best streams. She absolutely does.
Yeah, it's true. And well, you guys are so great at the freeform talk. That is something that I'm still working on that I really love. And so eventually I'll catch up with you too. And
the structured format that you keep, Jill, is also a nice balance, though. So we appreciate that.
And whenever we can meld the two together, it's just really cool. So we'll see you guys next time. I'm going to leave you with a review, a preview of next week's episode that we're going to review, which will be Shore Leave.
Bingo.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Captain's log, stardate 3025.8. A planet which seems to be paradise is chosen for a shore leave, but things of fantasy, which are undeniably real, suddenly appear.
Sulu!
Enjoy yourself, Captain. It's an interesting planet. I believe you'll find it quite pleasant. You'll have no problems.
I swear I heard someone moving around.
Don't talk like that.
Well, I am on shore leave.
And so am I.
All right, Jimmy boy.